Welcome back to Movie Dumpster, Season 7, Episode 17. Today we're talking about Street Trash from 1987, directed by Jimmy Moreau. And did this cult classic really need the remake treatment? We're going to find out today. I'm Joel Escola.
And I'm Sean O'Rourke.
Welcome to the Dumpster. Street Trash, baby. We've arrived. Here it is.
Cross another one off the bucket list, the empty bucket list.
Well, we had to move this baby up because I was like, when is that new remake coming out? And they're like, oh, by the way, it drops on Screambox on November 19th. And we're like, welp, I guess strap the fuck in. It's time for Street Trash.
Yeah, let's get that out. The review of the old one, the original that we're going to talk about.
Street Trash, yeah.
Out in time for this remake, which has been stewing for a couple of years now, but that kind of came out of nowhere, the release date. I was kind of shocked to see that myself. In a good way. I'm curious to see what it's all about.
Yeah.
Definitely going to watch that one. I don't know if we're going to cover that in a review fashion. Maybe we'll decide once we watch it. But I'm tepidly excited, if that makes sense.
But if you want some more Movie Dumpster content, you can head over to patreon.com/moviedumpster and get an ad-free audio version of the show for only $2 a month. And you can get some other great stuff at the $5 and $10 tiers, like live watch-alongs, commentary tracks, sticker packs, shirts, glow-in-the-dark pins, all kinds of good stuff, behind-the-scenes videos. There you go, junk mails, all kinds of great stuff. Help you support your favorite show, if you can.
And if you're watching here on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe if you're not already, and share it. Get it out to more people. We're always talking about growing this dumpster community. We want to get more folks in here. And if you're listening on your favorite podcast app, also leave us that 5 stars and a review if you have the time. What did I just kind of say? Get it out to more people's eardrums, eyeballs, and everything in between.
Yeah, man, those reviews help us more than anything. So do it on YouTube. Do it on your favorite podcast app. Spread the word on the street. Trash, TM. Dumpster Dwellers. Here we go. But yeah, if you want some other stuff, we have a great store at moviedumpsterpodcast.com where you can get one of those great knit caps for the winter. It's starting to get a little chilly out there. And if you find yourself sleeping on a park bench or under some newspapers, they're a great addition to your wardrobe.
Nursing some Tenafly Viper, possibly.
Possibly, yeah. Get a little nip of that, right? But buy the hat first, and then you could take a sip of the Viper.
Right. Make sure you buy the hat first, right?
But you can also find dates where we're going to be doing shows and stuff. We have stuff coming up next year. Nothing for the remainder of this year, but keep an eye out because there are a few things on there. So come hang out with the Dumpster Boys, and we'll get to that stuff a little bit later. And as always, you can find us at Movie Dumpster on all your social media platforms, and we are now on Blue Sky. So follow us over there too if you want to check it out. Street Trash, okay?
Yes.
The Splatter classic.
Or melt movie classic.
Melt movie classic. The politically incorrect.
Oh, God, yeah.
Vibrantly colored exploitation horror / comedy.
I was kind of joking before we started recording, but Lloyd Kaufman, Michael Hertz, when they saw this movie, they fucking both probably were licking their lips. Their pants were a little wet. They were like, holy shit, this is right up our alley. It's like a trauma movie that's not a trauma movie, which is like, you don't see too many of those, or at least I haven't seen too many of those.
It's right in the pocket, and it's funny you say that, because I want to talk, as we talk about this, we'll get into like the distribution of this film, who picks it up. I have the Lightning Video VHS, and you know what else came out on Lightning Video? The Toxic Avenger.
Okay, there you go.
Which was from Trauma Entertainment. So we'll talk a little bit about that in a little while.
Yeah.
But I want to go way back to when we first met, when we first started hanging out. You know, we talk about this a lot, and we talk about movies that kind of bonded us as friends. Rumpelstiltskin being one of them.
Yeah, oh my God, that 4K is coming out next year. We definitely are covering that in some capacity. Just fucking stay tuned, folks.
Hopefully things work out, and you definitely stay tuned for that.
Uncle Rumpel's on his way.
Hopefully. So yeah, it was Street Trash being one of them, Rumpelstiltskin being one of them. Bog was another
Bog
one.
was the Bog. Oh my God.
Not even the Bog, it's just Bog.
Yeah, we got to do a watch along of that, because that was holy shit, is that bad? That's like MSTK3 needed to cover that fucking one.
Oh my God. I don't know. It depends. I might fall asleep. I used to do that. We used to get drunk together. I fell asleep. Sean would watch the entirety of the movie, specifically Bog.
Bog, yeah.
Brain Damage was another one.
Brain Damage was one.
Yeah.
Cannibal Holocaust. Wow, can't speak already.
Cannibal Holocaust?
Yeah, a lot of those films, you're right, are the ones we kind of bonded on. But Street Trash is one I feel like that we would always kind of return to.
Yeah, it's a big one. I think we've watched this one the most together.
That, and funnily enough, speaking about Funny Man's another one.
Funny Man's, well, we got to cover that one, too.
Yeah. But this is definitely one of those, like, probably top 5 that we haven't covered, that we have seen together, like Joe just said, and just kind of help bond or create our friendship at this last almost 2 decades now, and going on almost 8 years of this show.
Holy shit!
Half of our friendship almost, which is kind of crazy.
It's like 20-something years now.
Yeah, but
Question mark?
I kind of remember this vaguely, where a lot of times I'd come over to Joe's house when we were first starting to hang out, and we kind of just go through the movies. You'd be like, if you got something new, we'd watch that, like you just said. But you'd also be like, hey, what jumps out at you? And the fucking cover is so iconic.
It's
Talk
a
about
good
an
one.
iconic VHS cover or poster, and it's just like the blob, the acidified whatever, grabbing this toilet plunger and just pulling down. Like, how could you not see that and want to watch it? And the rest is fucking history.
It's just like I think Synapse had put this DVD out
Maybe around the time when we first started hanging out.
2006, dude.
Oh, that's
so,
about right, yeah.
So that's right in the pocket. 2006, I must have bought that and we're like, we got to fucking watch this, and we did.
Oh, Chud's another one. Chud's another one.
Oh, yeah, Chud's another
Since
big
we're going down memory lane, that's another one we got to come back to.
I can't even remember the first time I saw this. I think the first time that I had seen it was on badmovies.org.
Okay.
Andrew Borntreger, it was like the guy who created badmovies.org, and there used to be a pretty good community there. I don't know what it's like there today because I haven't been on it in forever, but that's what I used to do in high school all the time, was go on badmovies.org.
Get your recommendations.
And that's how I found a lot of this stuff, like Meet the Feebles, for instance. I discovered on there and then went on a whole rabbit hole because we were talking about, we brought it up a few times, but like back in the day when it was just rental movie stores.
Right, good luck. Just either see it on the shelf or
you don't.
Yeah, or you don't know it exists, maybe.
If your mom and pop or your Blockbuster or whatever didn't have the movie, you didn't fucking see it.
Good luck trying to watch fucking anime in the 90s. Those people are legends.
Yeah.
If you're out there watching.
And that's another thing when we talk about like Monster Mania and Chiller and all the bootlegs that people were making, because a lot of these releases weren't on DVD. I mean, it took till 2006 to get Street Trash on disc. Otherwise, if you couldn't find the tape, you didn't see it.
No,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And what's funny about this particular copy of Street Trash is I'm pretty sure, yes, this is Andrew Borntreger's from badmovies.org.
Wow.
We're talking about a time where, like, it was a pretty close-knit community. So I traded him the unrated Night of the Demons tape for this Street Trash.
Go back and listen to that Night of the Demons episode. I think you might have talked about it on that.
I think I might have talked about
the
that.
tale of this story.
Yeah, the tale of this.
Story,
so this is the actual tape, so this is kind of like extra special to me.
That is it would be a piece of history regardless, just being the tape, but that is like makes it a more important, not only to you personally, but just as a piece of horror history. That's cool. I don't know. Hopefully, I'm making sense.
It's just cool. It's just cool to me, and it's a part of the culture too.
Yeah, there you go.
So and it's where it's changed hands through people
that loved it.
Yeah, and a lot of tapes are like that. Especially even if you look around this room, especially stuff in the back, like those are from people in the community that you trade with or buy from, that you get to know, and you grow to know these people through these films. You know what I mean?
How long you been collecting tapes now at this point? As long as I've known you, or longer?
Forever.
So there you go.
I mean, I had them when I was a kid, and then started collecting them like for real, like in my teens.
Yeah. So you know a lot of these people too, people in the community. I mean,
I knew them before they were like Josh Schaefer of Lunch Meat. Like I knew him when he first started. So like I've been friends with him for a long time too. So and we met each other through the love of these movies and tapes and things like that. Matt Desiderio from Horror Boobs, who does a lot of stuff at Nighthawk Cinema and stuff now in I think it's in Brooklyn. He does a lot of cool shit. I want to make it up there because he's always doing cool stuff, and I can never make it. Especially the climate now with the tapes and stuff. It's a little different. It's way more saturated. Way more people are getting into it, which is a cool thing, but also a bad thing. And we can go on a whole tirade about that, about the grading and all that bullshit. But yeah, that's when I first heard about it. So badmovies.org. And I had to get my hands on it because I was like, this looks fucking insane. There's people melting into toilets.
Right, like I was saying.
It's just poster. Like, because I was big on finding all the gore stuff that I couldn't find, i.e. Cannibal Holocaust, Bad Taste, Meet the Feebles, Street Trash, Dead Alive.
Peter Jackson. His name just came up a lot right there.
Well, that's like, those are some of my favorite movies.
Sure, yeah.
And it's funny because I think they're just fresh in my brain because I was like looking up when the fucking 4K of Feebles was coming out.
We bring that up occasionally.
When is this coming out already?
That's going to be a review as soon as it lands.
We've been holding out on that since we started the show because that's how long it's been in fucking production to come out on Blu-ray.
I hope it looks immaculate.
It should.
I hope it's not one of those bad Terminator 2 fucking transfers. Oh God, what did I just say? Don't put that out in the ether, Sean.
So, yeah, finding this movie was hard. And until 2006, it was hard for me to find it because I could not get it at my local haunts. Okay?
Right. Well, yeah.
That's why trading tapes was a cool thing too, because if you couldn't find it, you had it. And like I had 2 copies of Night of the Demons because I had gotten one from like a family friend who also was into horror movies, and he gave me one. And then they had a trade board, and Andrew traded me this, and that's how I got the tape, and that's how I first saw it. And I fell in love with it. It's just it's fucking funny. It's full of wacky practical effects. I love the vibrant colors, the effects in this.
Yeah.
It's just been a staple. It is so my fucking brand of movie.
Yeah.
These are the types of films that I live for. Because not only is it wacky and full of like crazy gore stuff, but it's well written and it's well shot. It might not always be well acted, but I think that lends to the charm of it. And I think everybody in this film is pretty fucking charming, if not actually good at acting.
Yeah. They're trying for damn sure.
It's a good time. It doesn't take itself too seriously, but it takes itself seriously enough.
It knows what it is.
Which lends it to be a good film and not like a parody of itself.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Well, it's also satirical, so
100%.
It never quite crosses that line where it's making fun of itself, but it's making fun of other shit.
Oh, totally.
Very successfully throughout.
Yeah. And the connections that this film had. This is a special film for other reasons that we'll keep going into, but like people who worked on it and where they went and who met who and all that kind of shit. And like decline and then end of certain distribution companies, i.e. Lightning Video. Vestron was still going into the 90s, but Lightning Video was a subsidiary of Vestron.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So yeah, let's get into just a little bit behind the scenes stuff. Again, this is another case where I don't want to go too heavy in it because there's a great documentary called The Meltdown Memoirs that was on the original Synapse DVD. They brought it over and put it on the special features for the Blu-ray, which you can still grab. It, you can still pick it up. It's no big deal.
Definitely have to see that. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what was so great because we often talk about when films came to DVD, you expected them to be packed with special features.
Right. Well, especially after they started doing that after like the first year of DVD, it started to become like an essential feature.
Well, that was the whole allure of it. You know what I mean? And Street Trash specifically, and Synapse was always known for doing great releases. I mean, they also brought Brain Damage to disc.
Oh yeah.
They brought Basket Case 2 and 3 to disc. I think they brought the first one. I can't remember. No, that was Something Weird Video. Something Weird Video put out the first one, and then they brought 2 and 3 to DVD. Anyway, but on the Synapse release, it had the Meltdown Memoirs. Like it comes with like a booklet, and then like there's the documentary, and then there's interviews, and then there's all kinds of cool shit in there. And it came with like a sticker to make your own Tenafly Viper bottle.
That's awesome.
It's really cool. And the Blu-ray did the same thing, which I thought was neat. And there's extra shit on the Blu-ray specifically for the Blu-ray that they put
even
on
more.
there.
Wow.
Yeah. So I thought that was really cool.
And this is definitely a movie you want to see some of those behind the scenes.
Yeah. In the Meltdown Memoirs, there's a bunch of behind the scenes stuff that was shot, because this is made by film students and they were kind of documenting the whole thing. And Roy Frumkes kind of kept a diary and a video diary of like what was going on and stuff like that. So there's audition tapes and there's all kinds of cool stuff woven into that documentary, and you should definitely check it out. We're going to touch on a few things, but definitely check that out. Just like I mentioned, the Wolfman's Got Nards documentary.
On Monster Squad.
Yeah, go watch that. And even the 5-parter on the Kino Lorber and whatever that fucking first disc was from. I forget. Anyway.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing because another one would be that documentary that we talked about in the Dr. Moreau episode.
Oh, God, yeah. Well, I fucked up
Lost Soul or whatever.
Dude, I fucked up big time because Severin had put that out, and I'm like, I didn't even know Severin had put out that documentary, so definitely go grab that, because I certainly did, because I didn't know it was out on disc, so I grabbed it after we talked about it.
After we did it, yeah. I'm just saying that's another great one.
So, yeah, Jim Moreau, Roy Frumkes, and Mike Lackey all were in school. Now, Roy was a teacher at the film school, and Mike and Jim were students. But they all got together to make this short film. And they made a short film of Street Trash before they made this feature.
Have you actually seen that?
It's on the disc.
It is, okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's also included on the disc, which I thought was cool because it was one of those things where like just a bunch of people got together that, thought this was a cool project, made the thing and was like, hey, we could probably make a fucking feature out of this, and they did. I think Roy shops the promo reel and the short for like a year or so. They end up like raising like I think like $1 million or a little over $1 million or something like that.
Must have been impressive.
I could not believe. I had forgotten because I've watched the Meltdown Memoirs before, but like I had forgotten that like they had 7 months of pre-production, so they were just chilling and doing storyboards and really plotting out what they wanted to do with this movie. And I think that really adds to the quality of it because they could troubleshoot some things and really prepare in a bigger way and not be rushed and not spend too much money in places where they didn't need to, kind of thing.
Yeah, especially with the effects, I would imagine, trying to figure out how they're going to do some of those, let's say, transitions from human to slime, whatever, that we're going to talk about.
Mm-hmm. So it's always inspiring when folks get together independently, put something together, and then somehow find funding. That's kind of like a dream thing.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Where you put your idea together, and then somebody's just like, oh, okay, here's a bunch of money. Go ahead, make it.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, sure will.
I'm not saying no. Hell no. Here's my script. Let's do it.
So Roy was, he's pretty notable even before this because he was on set for Dawn of the Dead with George Romero, and he made a documentary called Document of the Dead.
Oh, okay.
And it's all about the behind-the-scenes making of Dawn of the Dead, which I thought was cool. And he's even a zombie in that film as well, like an extra, which I thought was cool. He's a producer. He's a writer mostly. And a documentarian because he does another dead adjacent Romero thing later.
Okay.
Like a few in the 90s or the 2000s, I can't remember. But he takes Jim Moreau's idea of street trash and like, this liquor that turns people into fucking goo and kind of puts a whole sheen on it for the script, which I thought was cool. And, I've seen people say, there's not much plot to this. You even said one of the first things you said when you came down today was like, yeah, there's not really that much plot.
There is, but I don't feel like there's a ton there. It definitely like works for the film.
What's there is compelling enough, I think,
I
which keeps you interested. What's happening in between people melting into piles of shit. Actually, something pretty compelling in my opinion. But we're gonna get to that.
Sure, yeah.
There's not too much about Jimmy Moreau. This is his only film, I think, and then he does a bunch of TV stuff. But he was a cinematographer, and he shot Rush Hour 3. That's a pretty big deal.
The worst of the franchise, but it still is fucking Rush Hour 3.
You're still working with Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan, and like it came out in the movie theater. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was a huge franchise at the time.
Absolutely.
So yeah, we keep talking about the effects in this, and how could you not? That's the big draw of this film, right? Is seeing bums drink Tenafly Viper and fucking melt into multicolored puddles of shit. Mutated monster melts. I don't even know what to call it. Goop monsters.
Slime creatures, exploding barrels. I don't know. There's a little bit of everything. Like they kind of thought of different ways they could make these guys explode or melt. I don't know. We'll talk about it, but
each one is unique and fun. Yeah. Jennifer Aspinall and Mike Lackey do the effects. Jennifer is the main SFX person, and like her idea was like, for each person that melts, they're going to have their own color palette and the way they melt, and so it like echoes the type of character that they are and stuff, and it works for me personally, and there's a lot of fun shit in this movie.
Anytime you have kind of like different colored blood or mucus or whatever coming out of a human being, like Body Melt did this too, just kind of add something to it. Like you don't always need to be hyper realistic, and this movie's not going for hyper realism at all. Again, like it is even satire to some extent. So yeah, when you have somebody that's just melting out of like just purple shit coming out of them, it's like hell yeah, bring it on.
Oh yeah, man.
Oh, what do you mean? Orange soda's dripping out of this man's eyes? Okay, yeah, I love it.
It's so fun.
Yeah,
it's just it's so fun to look at because like you're getting the best of both worlds. Like if somebody who doesn't really handle gore well, I think could actually enjoy this because it's not necessarily like blood and guts as much as it is like goop.
It's the Fanta version.
Yeah.
The orange.
Don't you want to?
Orange soda, grape soda. Yeah.
It's just so good. And but we got Rick Ulfik on score here.
Wow, I forgot how good the music was in this.
It's great. It's really, really good. Lunaris Records had put out the vinyl and the cassette. I actually had the vinyl upstairs, but I grabbed the cassette and that's on the table. Are they still putting out music? They were putting out soundtracks like adjacent with TerrorVision and stuff. They were Waxwork. They were kind of like all at the same time, kind of, sort of, a little bit. I think TerrorVision was doing a little bit longer. But I used to get stuff like religiously from Lunaris and Terror. We're still going strong with TerrorVision and Waxwork, of course. Waxwork's not so much nowadays, but yeah, I mean, it's a great soundtrack. Rick Olfick's score is fucking great. It's like this weird synth horror, stringy. Weird I don't even know what to call it. I guess it's like a weird
kind of synthy.
It's a synth score, but like then there's like also weird parts where it's like ragtime stuff depending on the scene of what it is,
especially when they're trying to get kind of a more silly vibe.
Yeah,
even though someone might be melting, there's some comedy to it for sure.
Oh, big time. And let's not forget, this is also a comedy movie.
Oh yeah.
Overall, I mean, there are some dark parts to this, but it's still a comedy too.
Yeah, no, I would agree.
So that's pretty much it. Couple little small things that I thought were kind of funny. Bryan Singer was a PA on this film.
Oh my God.
Yep.
Well, they should have just fired him and ended it there, but, I don't know if we've talked about him recently, but...
there's a great story. He's interviewed on the Meltdown Memoirs. I think that was probably before he made X-Men.
Right.
There's a great story on there where how he meets up with Tony Timpone, who would go on to be the editor of Fangoria, which is really cool. Because they were getting sandwiches at like Tony Timpone's dad's like deli. It's just a cool story. That I thought was fun. So yeah, Bryan Singer worked on this movie as a production assistant.
It's just a shame. Like Singer, I think is one of those tainted directors. I think he was part of that Drake Bell situation.
Oh no,
kind of interesting trivia. Regardless, not to put that bullet hole.
Well, I like Days of Futures Past, and I like First Class.
Some of those movies are still great.
Yeah. They managed to get a lot of the cast back to like do interviews for that at the time. The Meltdown Memoirs. Now this is like it's back in 2005. Like most of it's 4:3.
Oh God, right.
Yeah. Like, so like we're right,
almost 20 years.
We're right. Do you remember when I got my new Canon and like that was the first time we shot like 16:9 HD?
Yeah.
Or HDV, quote unquote.
Well, at the time, right?
Yeah.
With the special tapes.
Yeah, with the special tapes and all that shit. So like most people were still shooting like 4:3 on like Handycam shit.
I mean, most TV, what did it really transfer over? I guess around that time period, 08 maybe is when we finally switched over.
You know what?
Without looking it up, I think that sounds right.
I don't remember like TV. Yeah, TV went full on this because there was like
HD
TV and all that shit. Yeah.
Now we got 4K. Soon it'll be 8K, Joe. Then it'll be 25, 100K.
I got news for you. You can't fucking see past 4K.
Just wonder where we'll get before we're dead. Like how clear are these pictures gonna get? We're gonna see the fucking literal pimples growing in the pores by the time we're 90.
Unless you're gonna shoot for a screen that's like the size of the fucking Empire State Building, you don't need 12K. Cameras.
I know, it's just kind of funny to me, that's all.
So there's also like a couple other little funny things from it. Vic Noto goes on a fucking tirade about Drake's Cakes coffee cakes, which I thought was really funny. Just watch the fucking thing to see.
Bronson in the movie, of course.
Yeah. And Jorg Butgered is like in it talking about the dick scene. And it's a funny little anecdote, and like I'll just tell this one because it's funny.
Sure,
But he was concerned because he couldn't see the movie, and he thought somebody else did a better dick scene than in Necromantic. And it turns out like it was just like a little funny aside to have him like talking about it. You know what I mean? After a screening of it. So.
And if you somehow don't know what the dick scene is, well, stay tuned.
Oh yeah, we'll get there. And Jorg Butgered, excuse me, is the director of Necromantic. And Necromantic 2.
I've never actually seen it.
And
but
Der Todsking and what else did he do? Oh, Schramm is another one.
So that's the gag, I guess?
Well, no, he's just another extreme filmmaker. At that point, it was a joke because he had like the reigning title craziest dick scene in a movie.
Pieces are coming together. I need to watch the movie.
When the guy's like stabbing himself at the end of Necromantic and like jerking off and like, oh, you haven't seen it?
Well, we have the visual now. I guess if we can even show that on YouTube.
Oh, no. Not at all, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, that'll be a fun view.
Now I gotta watch it. Now that I know that happens. How have I not?
You gotta watch 1 and 2 back to back, dude.
Okay. This better not be some Sallow situation. You're trying to trick me.
I'm not trying to trick you. I won't trick you. You should watch it. Watch it for Valentine's Day. It's good. Yeah.
Oh God.
Greatest love story ever told. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I got to see this movie twice in 35mm, which was pretty sweet. I saw it. My buddy Evan Kyle was doing his Crystal Plumage films at the Forum Theater in Metuchen, New Jersey. And he always had great stuff and great guests. But he had Roy Frumkus and Roy's personal print of Street Trash that he brought to one of those shows and showed it, which was cool. And then I saw it at the Mahoning at a Tunnel Vision Tuesday that Exhumed did, and they showed Street Trash. Now, the second time I saw it, the first time the theater was roaring, but watching it at the Mahoning, it was like weird because a lot of parts I was the only one like laughing out loud, and I'm like, ooh, and I'm like, did the people not know what they were watching or like getting into or
sometimes, I mean, we've been to the Mahoning many times,
Yeah.
you more than I, but it's like sometimes it's like people just bring their kids when it's like this weird shit. You're like, well, I mean, that's a choice if you want to show your kid Terrifier 2, but I'd wait till they're at least like 12, not like 5 still sucking on a bottle. But hey, more power to you. Mahoney's going to sell the ticket.
And maybe it was just because where we were sitting, I couldn't hear people, but like I was clapping when people were melting and shit, and I didn't really hear anybody.
Like we said, it's a comedy, it's a satire. You're supposed to laugh. It's not supposed to be. I mean, there's things in this movie we'll discuss that I think don't age well at all with some of the hard edge they're going for.
But it's kind of the charm, and it really sets the tone for the time period.
That's why I think of Trauma too. Like Toxic Avenger has a lot of that shit in there.
It's not mean spirited. It's just it's in your face. Like, look how ugly this.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
It is.
On purpose, and that's the whole Trauma thing, too. Trauma aren't really scumbag, racist assholes. They're throwing it back in your face and showing you why it's gross and disgusting.
We've talked about stuff like that on the show before, like
satire.
Characters and but characters in movies that you're like, man, why did they write this character and have this racism? And it's like that can still take you out of a picture, but it's like it is in there, like for reasons you just said, to be like, no, this person's evil. We're trying to throw all the darts at you so you make sure you understand.
And some of it is for the sake of comedy, and I think it works. And there's nothing where I'm like, oh my god, that's horrible or anything like that.
I mean, some of Fred's dialogue, I think we could just trim that out of the film and nothing is lost.
But it's also like a lighter version of
I guess he could have been way more racist and homophobic, but he still is racist and homophobic. I guess you're right. It could have been substantially worse, but
nobody batted
that's my only major nitpick with the movie, but that's what they're going for. Like, what did I just say?
Again, it's not it's not
I kind of know what I'm getting into though, you know, right?
No, right, but like it's not made to hurt anyone.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like a shock kind
There's
of thing.
There's a difference between trying to hurt somebody and
there is, you're right.
having a laugh. You know what I mean?
No, I agree.
For satirical purposes.
No, yeah.
So yeah, with that being said, I just want to talk about the remake real quick. So the remake by Ryan Kruger is coming out. It drops today, November 19th.
Yes,
so
as of this release.
Some of you might have even watched it already. We don't know. It's on Screambox right now, streaming.
I mean, I will probably have watched it by the time this comes out.
Probably.
I don't have that. I don't have that fucking Back to the Future tech figure. The Urkel technology is not figured out yet.
Well,
Joe.
it's the same day, so this drops the same day. I'm definitely not going to have time to watch it the same day.
But I'm curious, like I said
earlier.
But
I watched the trailer. I watched a couple of the trailers. You know, it's a very different thing than I think this. I mean, right off the bat, like
which does make me a little nervous.
So Ryan Kruger directed Friedberry, which I have not seen, but it's very highly regarded, and I think it was on. I think Joe Bob had showed it.
Okay.
And I am interested in seeing it. I still haven't seen that yet, and I'm curious about this take on street trash. It's less so about the state of things and more about the eradication of the poor.
I mean, if you just watch the trailer just on its own, without even watching the movie, and you watch this movie from 1987, they don't look the same at all.
No, they don't look the same at all, and aesthetically, of course not. I mean, there are still like exploding people and colored shit and all that stuff. But what I mean is like, there's a group of homeless people who like team up together to like stop a corporation that's trying to wipe out the homeless via an experimental drug that's called Viper.
Okay, yeah, so that is very different, right?
It's like totally different. Now, what I've also heard is that like it's a sequel to this movie, not necessarily a remake.
Requel kind of thing? Okay.
I'm not sure. I haven't seen it, so I don't know. I'm only speaking on hearsay.
The chat's letting us know right now.
I can't really I can't speak to the movie because I haven't seen it. Only the trailer, so we'll see what happens and see how it shakes out. But I mean, it's definitely got the fucking goop. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, when it was first announced, I was instantly like, fuck this movie. I don't want this fucking thing. Why are we remaking street trash of all movies? But yeah, since that trailer came out, I was like, okay, like some of this I'm a little nervous about because why is it such a departure? But also like it looks kind of cool. So it didn't lose me at the same time. Just to be totally open about my opinion on what I've seen.
It's the other thing too of like, you could have probably made that movie and called it something else.
Yeah.
You know?
But I wonder if the only way they could make the movie is because they kind of just were like, well, we're doing street trash and we took some ideas. Again, we'll find out when we watch it. And then they just kind of blossomed it from there. You never know. It's the way some of this shit works with those cigar chomping executives, or someone has an idea, like Hellraiser a few years ago.
To be fair, I think it's produced by some folks from Vinegar Syndrome. Brad Miska from Bloody Disgusting. I think Cineverse is involved too. So like
people that have the right mindset.
These are also the people that I believe are distributing and producing some of the Terrifier stuff. So So it's coming. It's coming from a good place.
It's funny you mentioned Terrifier because I was thinking about that, like talking about splatter films in general.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of the one recently that series that's been kind of in the mainstream's limelight is Terrifier, especially with the third one just coming out, which I thought was, pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll talk about that at some point, but
we will. Don't worry.
It's very popular now, and that is kind of the new age, for lack of a better term, kind of splatter film. I think when you look at something like this, there's way more gore actually in street trash, but it's the way that Terrifier goes about its gore. A lot of those close-ups, body parts getting ripped apart. It's disgusting, especially to a casual viewer, but it's kind of cool, not to just beat that word into the fucking ground, but cool to see in 2024, now going into 2025, movies in this vein kind of coming back into that mainstream setting where it's now stuff like Long Legs that came out, maybe not as extreme as Street Trash or Terrifier, but are breaking through.
Yeah, no, there's an independent renaissance.
Yeah. And hopefully this new one breaks through. Hopefully it does well.
And it's great. And you know what? Hey, it might not be the best movie in the world or the best remake in the world, but at least it's something different.
Yeah.
We talked about that with you just had Long Legs or like
Hellraiser, like I said.
I'm good on Hellraiser, but In a Violent Nature or those spider movies that come out.
Saying, yeah.
Yeah, and what I'm saying is like horror, it's a very good year for horror, especially this year. So I hope to see that train keep a rolling. Whether it's a good movie or not, I just hope it does well enough to have producers and things invest more in things like that.
Yes.
So that we can get back some of that creative from the creative drought, or should I say, where it's like, let's just throw some money. Like, that's how this fucking movie was made. That sounds crazy. Here's a bunch of money. Go fucking make it. You know what I mean? And it became a cult classic. But, at the time it bombed, but then it had a resurgence. You know what I mean? So it's all about distribution and all that kind of shit too. So I think what they're doing, especially Cineverse and Bloody Disgusting and all them, and even now Vinegar Syndrome too, also investing in producing movies. I think they're tapping independent artists that they think are worthy or need to be known, or steer things away from a commercial and more, or Hollywood rather, into a more independent, creative space that they can make things in without kind of being like a little let off the leash.
Let them flourish a little.
Let them flourish a little bit, because what I will say about the new
Corman
Street Trash
style almost.
What I will say about the new Street Trash, without even having seen it, it's not this movie at all.
Which is not a bad thing. We talked about that on the Salem's Lot remake review.
That's my point. That's what seems the most promising about it, is like it's not trying to do the same thing again. It's literally doing its own thing. Kind of like the Black Christmas remake, I think would be a good way to do that. But that Salem's Lot remake, no.
Yeah, go check out the Ripe review if you want our full thoughts on that. But I was going to say, like, Ghostbusters 2016, obviously.
Oh,
which, to be totally fair, it did try to do its own fucking thing. It just didn't fucking land for us.
Well,
it did, though.
Yeah.
A lot of dancing.
A lot of improv and no script, and that's the problem with that movie.
I love Kevin.
So yeah, with that being said, let's get into the goo. Let's get into the Viper. Let's take that sip and fucking melt down, baby.
Let's flush ourselves into the toilet.
Let's explode into a million pieces in coffee cake.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. You want to plot crunch this one?
Sure.
All right, go for it.
That plot that doesn't exist, right, Joe?
The plot that doesn't exist. Go.
So, like you had kind of mentioned before, there's this liquor that this store owner finds in a wall. It's not Dracula this time, Joe. It's some fucking liquor from the 20s that is tainted. But he doesn't know that. He just says, fuck, I'm going to sell it to some bums for cheap and just get it out of here.
It's $1 a bottle, man.
$1 a bottle. And slowly the homeless population of the neighborhood, somewhere in upstate New York, I know this was shot in New Jersey and Hoboken, New Jersey and Hoboken.
It was also shot in New York City.
That's what I meant to say. New York City and Hoboken. But yeah, he finds that liquor and he starts selling it to that population. And slowly but surely, people are drinking this shit. And it doesn't just give you a headache. It doesn't just give you a hangover. It doesn't make you throw up.
No.
Well, it kind of does.
Well,
it turns your body into acid because it's basically acid in a bottle. And it has different... each person has a slightly different reaction. But long story short, you're fucking dead if you drink this shit.
It's described as like an alkaline or alkalized liquor.
Yes.
I don't know if that's what that happens, but I love that you fucking drink this shit and you turn into a puddle of multicolored goo.
Exactly.
It's my favorite thing.
And kind of intertwined in this, there's also a few other characters that are living in this scrapyard that are also dealing with some of their personal situations. It's kind of love situation between this one character, Kevin, and Wendy, who works at the scrapyard. But then there's also his brother Freddie, who is kind of our semi-main character.
There's like a crime story and a love story. It's got all different
the
kinds of
junkyard
things.
story.
Yeah. Coming of age story.
Right. Yeah. All kind of convening at this junkyard, surrounded by almost like a zombie movie where it's like there's the human story, but there's also zombies attacking and people gotta die occasionally. It's like this one's a human story that takes place with a bunch of homeless people in a junkyard, and every once in a while they fucking melt. That's the gist. That is the gist.
That's the best way to describe it. Yeah, because it's mostly also like a murder mystery kind of thing.
A little bit, yeah.
It's like a crime drama comedy.
There's a lot of comedy.
There's a lot of
dark
comedy. Like a lot of dark comedy. If that's your thing, this is it.
Absolutely.
For sure. Right when this movie opens, it's just like, boom, street trash. And we get thrown right the fuck into it. We get introduced to Mike Lackey as Freddy. And he like sneaks into behind this guy into his like liquor shop and like steals a bottle of fucking booze.
Oh, this part's fucking hilarious. This guy, this shot, he lets out this massive fucking
right in his face.
Oh yeah, this stinker, this fart right in his face, and he's like, oh, and he like blows his cover, and the guy chases him down the street.
But it's this awesome sequence that's all Steadicam, and I think that's what really sets this film.
Shot it with a golf cart. I read.
Yeah, well, I think that really sets the film apart.
The camera,
the way that it's shot from other low budget films, and at that time, the Steadicam was like a pretty new thing.
Okay,
and they had access to it at the fucking at the film school. I'm not sure if it was. It might have been NYU. I'm not sure. I keep avoiding saying the name because I'm not sure which university it was,
especially based on the location.
Yeah.
It probably is.
I think it was NYU.
But yeah, they do make great use of the POV shots in this movie. There's a lot. I shouldn't say a lot, but whenever they do pop up in the film, there's even one that's kind of Evil Dead-ish towards the end there. I'm like, all right, I see what you did there, but I like it. I like all the POV shots.
It has a whole vibe to it.
Yeah. Point of view shot, just to clarify. Sometimes I forget to say that, but yeah.
Yeah. You got David Sperling on cinematography, but you also have Jim operating the Steadicam shots.
Okay.
So there's like a handoff between the both of them. So Jim's directing and behind the camera a little bit. It's funny because David Sperling actually shot Mom that we covered.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that's kind of funny.
Another forgotten gem.
So this camera's following Freddy all through the city as he like runs away from this guy that he stole liquor from, and in the process he like causes a car accident, and then he has this other guy chasing after him, and then he runs past Wizzy,
the pimp or whatever,
who you get introduced. He's not a pimp, he's just like a soldier, quote unquote.
Yeah, for
he
the
works
main
for
bad
Bronson.
Guy.
Yeah. So we get introduced to him and Paulie, and it's basically just them chasing Freddy throughout this whole thing. It's really funny.
I do love when he goes in like this building that's burning. It's like a ladder drops down. He's like, "Oh, my escape!" And then people are running out of this burning building.
I love when he pulls the covers off the people that are fucking. He's like, "Yeah, it's a fire! Get out!" And he smacks the chick in the ass.
Well, and then he steals their watch as they're running away. And
don't take anything, just leave. And he's like stealing from them.
And naked people just running down the stairs. You're like, okay, yeah, I guess if the building's on fire and he's saying run, I guess that's what you would do, right? Come just dripping off your penis. All right.
This guy's fucking swinging dong down the stairs. It's hilarious. There's like people carrying lamps and shit in their underwear. It's really good, like sight gag shit.
Yeah.
But he makes his escape into a fucking dump truck. But he ends up losing his fucking
money.
His $2.
It's important.
It is important,
especially when you don't have any fucking money. 1987, $2. Let's at least get you a hamburger.
Maybe they're not buying
get you a full meal.
These
honestly,
motherfuckers aren't buying any food. They're only buying booze. All right.
He could have got 2 bottles of Tenafly Viper. Actually,
he only would have got 1 sip out of it though.
Well, right. Actually, but he would have had 2 bottles.
There you go.
Snack for later. Or at least he would have thought. But yeah, you're right. The garbage truck fucking ate it.
So then we go to the junkyard, and we're kind of introduced to introduced to Bronson.
They
and
ripped the sheet off his throne. He's like hiding behind it with his woman.
So he's this Vietnam vet who's now homeless that like rules this fucking part of the junkyard, and he's got like like you said, he's got like this fucking throne and shit. He's like Brando in Apocalypse Now.
A little bit. Oh god,
running his own fucking village of people, and he reminds you of that a lot throughout the movie.
A little bit, yeah.
No, he reminds you that he was in Nam and what he did when he was there.
Well, he has all those flashbacks and even nightmares about it, which another thing is kind of cool. Speaking of Meet the Fucking Feebles and Apocalypse Now.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus, that's a whole... Yeah, that's a whole...
It is later, but yeah, it's kind of creepy as hell.
Yeah, the heroin addict frog that was in Vietnam, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Right, but I love his reveal. Like I said, they pull a sheet off his throat, and he's like with this woman, Winnie, that his girlfriend or whatever he fucks, I guess, off camera. He never actually does it in the movie, thank God.
Yeah.
But this woman, again, she's homeless. What she can do about it, but she's just covered in dirt, and just the underwear and the bra, that's it. Just...
Nicole Potter, she's great in this.
She's funny.
She's such a sweetheart too, and she's like fucking unhinged in this movie.
Oh yeah.
So Vic Noto plays Bronson too. I just wanted to mention that. That's the guy I mentioned before with the fucking coffee cake thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Like you said, the liquor store owner Ed finds the fucking Viper in his basement behind a wall. And
it's like fucking Barlow in the Marston house. He like pulls it out, or Fluffy from Creepshow.
Mike Ryerson's under there, and yeah, the Tenafly's right next to the Fluffy.
Yeah. Handed him the bottle. Here you go.
Yeah, there's a fucking Billy's half corpse is under there still. God. Her skeleton.
Yeah, Freudstein's down there eating cat food. Oh, yeah, this guy cracks his fucking crate open, and he's like, old hooch. I could sell this to the local homeless, no problem.
I could sell this for like $1. Fuck it.
And he fucking does almost instantly.
I guess Freddy like frequents this liquor store, so he goes in and he ends up stealing a bottle from Ed
because he doesn't even buy it.
Because this fucking guy comes in a wheelchair and like falls out of his wheelchair, knocks a bunch of shit over.
I thought that was like part of their scam, but then like that guy never comes back. I mean, I've seen it several times, but I forgot.
There's a deleted scene with that guy like macking it to a couple hookers in the alley at one point, but didn't make the final cut.
It's a shame.
Now this movie kind of jumps around a lot, but it does follow a narrative, because now we go back to the characters of like the Bronson character. We get introduced to Bert here and some of the other.
Bert, he's my favorite character.
Yeah, he's so good, and like some other tertiary bum characters. They're washing people's cars that don't want their cars to be washed.
The windshields.
The windshields, and Bronson's standing at a corner, and this fucking guy, his wife is like, "Don't stop at this light." He's like, "Just keep going through it." And he's like, "No, I got this." He fucking pulls over to Bronson, and he's like, "Hey, buddy, I do a little ROTC on the weekends, and you let me shoot one of those guns that you had in Nam. Can you get something on the window?" Bronson grabs this motherfucker,
who's wearing a bow tie, by the way, and glasses,
pulls him out of the car and throws him through his own windshield.
Oh yeah,
you fucking weekend warrior.
Oh god, yeah, Bronson's got some crazy lines, and the guy who played this
Vic
part,
Noto, is insane.
He must be.
He is. The fucking dude is unhinged, and I love it so much.
He said, I don't know if this was in interviews or maybe it was in one of those documentaries, but apparently he never actually read the script. He was hired, I think, the day of shooting when it began, or the day before, because I guess the other actor got fired due to whatever reason, disagreements or some shit. And he read it like 3 months after the part was done, after he was finished filming, and he was like, I still don't know what the fuck I was doing. Like, I still don't understand the part, but he's great in it regardless. It's like weird how that worked out.
So Freddy ends up meeting up with Paulie, and because he has the stolen Viper in his pocket, and Wizzy ends up coming around and beating the shit out of Freddy because he stole his money before.
Right,
I mean, he needs to, give his money to Bronson.
Paulie also sees like the bottle in his pocket and kind of gets close to him and is like hugging him to like try to steal it.
Like, hey, and he does, and he takes it from him. And this is our first melting sequence because I love, it's the cover. I mean, it's the most iconic scene of the movie in terms of people recognizability.
Yeah.
It's just really cool because like he goes into this building and he opens the door and closes it, but it zooms out and you see it's just a fucking wall and like falls down. He like sits on this toilet and he like drinks the Viper. His tongue's all blue and shit, and all of a sudden he starts melting, dude. Blue goo is coming out of his pant legs.
Oh yeah,
his hands are melting. The fingers are melting. You got greens and purples and blues coming out of this guy.
It's like the old-fashioned toilet with the plunger.
The pull flush.
Yeah.
And he puts his hand on the fucking chain like the Godfather.
Yup.
and he goes to pull it, and his fucking arm comes off. His legs break off at the ankles, and he like melts into the toilet, and his lower torso falls in.
Starts flushing himself, basically. Then he looks like a fucking literal slime out of like D&D or some shit.
There's an awesome shot that's like a Steadicam shot that like goes through everything. It's almost like Evil Dead-esque, where it like goes through the rubble of everything, like through a door and to the toilet, and then the face pops up out of the toilet, and it's all blue goo. It's awesome.
And then that's the end of this poor bastard.
That's fucking that, dude. Then we go to the junkyard. Now, the main junkyard.
Yeah.
And Wendy is there, played by Jen Arakawa. And she's basically taking care of this kid, Kevin, who is living in this tire hut with his brother, who happens to be Freddy.
Right, yeah, like protecting them. But she also works for the scrapyard.
She works for the scrapyard. She's basically running the joint, as we come to find out. She's like, she keeps the books and all that shit. And
the people in line, I mean, they don't ever go heavy into that, but it's implied.
Yeah, she gets the order. The orders come in. She's who they deal with, the contact, and she does the ordering and the billing and all that shit.
Right, yeah.
And her boss is R.L. Ryan, who plays Frank Schneiser. And I love this guy so much. And he's like a trauma guy. He was in Toxic Avenger. He plays the mayor. He's in Class Nukem High. And he's in Eat and Run, which is another great comedy that I want to cover. I think we've talked about that before. There's a detective in that movie where he talks to himself in the third person. And the Fudgy the Whale,
I'm sure it's
outtakes.
come up.
We gotta talk about that one. That's a great one. He plays a fucking like alien who eats Italian people.
That's great. That sounds great. This guy's kind of funny. He does some fucked up shit later.
Well,
but the way he plays this is very funny. And he's a very corpulent man.
He's a very corpulent man.
I think a Gizmo from Fallout 1, just like, wow, he's fat, but let's like really lean into that. But he kind of is self-aware. They even have some jokes later where it's like, oh, you smell, you stink, you haven't showered, walk your fucking dog, and like it cuts to him doing it. And it's like, all right, I kind of appreciate that kind of self-aware comedy.
I would love Will Sasso to do like a biopic of this guy.
Oh my God.
It would be great.
If he's got enough to talk about, do you think he does?
I think so.
Okay.
Like his acting career and like what he meant to like people and stuff like that. I think so.
Anyway,
everybody that he's worked with speaks very highly of, spoke very highly of him. So I'm curious. I mean, maybe it would be fun to see all like a My Name Is Dolomite kind of thing.
I was gonna say, yeah, Will Sasso. I mean, say what you will about that Three Stooges movie, but he was pretty great as Curly, and this guy does kind of a Curly impression as he approaches a body later, so that might line up.
He's great. R.L. Ryan's amazing.
Yeah.
They're going back and forth, and he's like, what's with you and those kids? You think I'm running a fucking nursery here or something? And he's like, I just feel sorry. She's like, I just feel sorry for him. And they're just runaways. We try to help them as much as we can so that like they don't end up like the street trash TM. Right. You know what I mean? And he's like, my son's not a bum. He's a fucking custodial engineer at IBM building. And they're like, well, isn't that just a janitor?
Oh, right. That's a joke. Shitting on janitors. Low-hanging fruit.
Not shitting on janitors, but like...
Well, they are because of the way he phrases that.
Well, there's this whole contempt for the working class in this, but also the bum or the poor, not the poor, but like the literal destitute. And again,
they do it in a satirical fashion.
It's a wholly satirical fashion, so the socio-political commentary thereof.
It's not even remotely the same, a similar kind of film. But Life Stinks with Mel Brooks kind of goes into similar territory. I mean, he's like some millionaire that loses all his money, so it's coming at it from a different angle. But that's another one if you want to see like a different take on how homeless people are treated. Maybe is a little a kinder portrayal. I mean, this is played up for comedy 9 times out of 10, right?
Well, speaking of people that lost all their money by betting on the wrong horse. Black Suit.
That's just his name.
Yeah, well, this was a joke for us for a long time. The condominium joke.
Oh yeah, it's a goddamn condominium.
I got my own place, a condominium.
Just on the fire escape, that's where he lives.
It's just another segue to get to Viper, but also a segue to introduce Bill, Detective Bill.
Oh, the cop. Yeah. He's called Black Suit because he's like, I got married in this.
He's like, hey, pal, I got married in this. He's like, you think I got it easy? Hey, That's what you think. That's what you think. And if you think, you know, and now you can think.
Yeah, you think. And the guy's just like, his eyes are fucking
He's like,
spinning.
yeah, whatever, buddy. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
And he's like knocking shit over when he's like talking.
Well,
it's a great scene.
Give me your fucking buck and get out of here.
But he's telling him his life story, how he bet everything. He lost my wife, my kids, my everything, which is pretty fucking sad.
Yeah.
So he goes out and somebody had died. Somebody turned into fucking goo.
Well, actually, they're carting off the fucking Poindexter that got smashed through the windshield.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Excuse me.
Which I believe when I looked it up, he was actually like a judo champion in the fucking Olympics or something to that effect. So.
Oh, Bill? No, he was a Olympic lifter.
No, I mean the guy I say Poindexter because it's kind of a nerdy stereotype, but the guy with the glasses and bow tie that got face planted. I don't know, just a piece of trivia I read.
Oh, gotcha. Bill Shepbill, who plays Bill the cop, it was like an Olympic lifter.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, he was a fucking brick. He's a brick shithouse.
Some Olympians in this film. Yeah. But you're right. It is kind of a combination of they found the guy in the toilet. This guy's getting cut off because you hear like his wife or girlfriend screaming in the background, like, "Oh, I told him not to go down that road." But yeah, Black Suit's like strolling down, and Bill grabs him by the scruff, and he's like, "What the hell are you doing over here?"
He's like, where the fuck you going? He's like, "I'm part of the Flatbush Foot Brigade," and he's like, "Flatbush Foot Brigade, my ass." He's like, he says your boss fucking iced this guy. Somebody got iced.
Well, then he gets nervous because now he knows Bronson, and everyone's fucking scared of this guy because again, he has these PTSD moments, and he goes insane constantly.
Well, yeah, so he killed that Poindexter guy, and now Bill's on the table, and he's got a murder to solve, and he wants Bronson. So a Black Suit like goes up to his fucking condominium, and he's sitting up there, and then we get our second melt. He takes a big old chug of that, and turns
with the pussycat he's talking to.
Yeah, little hey pal. His fucking foot pops. There's yellow shit that sprays out of it. He turns into literal yellow goo that drops onto the ground, and here's Roy's little cameo because he gets a fucking plop right in the face of the shit, and his face is like melting off.
Oh man, I love that. And like no one's helping this guy. I mean, what are you really gonna do?
Yeah.
But it's like, someone get this man an ambulance, and then he's like having an argument with this woman about like, oh, that's sexist. It's kind of funny though.
Why can't you help this man? It's because he's a male or whatever.
Yeah. Well, this guy's like, like gurgling, dying.
There's so much fucked up shit happening in this scene. Yeah. Like dialogue exchange.
And this might be the one time I was saying, there is actually some throw up when the bum's like dying and with the acid and everything. He's throwing up into the grave. Yeah, like, and it's dripping.
Yeah, it's great.
It's great. And then they show his body later, and he's like basically a skeleton, like Mars Attacks.
What do you think? Well, we'll get to that.
I was like, I don't know how you get from that to that, but I like the visual.
This is where we get Bronson's nom stuff, where it's like it's really heavy into the nom stuff.
Is this his dream?
No, not yet.
Okay.
He's drunk, and he's like he eyes up Wendy the whole movie.
Oh yeah,
and he has this weird obsession with her because Wendy is, of course, Asian.
Well, yeah, it's like that. He hates them because he was. It's like
But he's also
so
like in love with her. Well, not in love with her, but like just wants to fuck her.
Wants to fuck her.
Yeah,
and not in a nice way. And even his girlfriend, Bronson's girlfriend, Winnie, or
if you want to call her that,
I guess the closest thing you could say.
Concubine.
Right? Concubine is just like jealous instantly. She's like, "You look at her after everything I do." This movie just screaming the whole movie, and like you're like, "All right, well, this guy's unhinged. He's surely not gonna just punch her." Oh, he punched her in the face. Okay, I guess you should have seen that one coming, right?
He's like, "I used to make girls like you walk around and can't bear pussy.
Yeah. You bitch!"
Yeah.
Just screaming everything.
Don't you ever talk to me like that in front of the men.
In front of the men. That's what he's actually mad about. Not that she said it.
Well, he thinks that he's like got a platoon of guys. Like he still thinks
he's really lost.
He's like living his own fucking like reality in this junkyard.
It's like if another kind of comedy horror film. House. Still got to circle back on that first one.
Yeah, with the
Big Ben.
You think Bronson was in was hanging out, was in the same platoon as Big Ben and William Catt?
Yeah, he was William Catt. He was part of the when William Catt got left Big Ben there to be taken by the Vietnamese. When he got back, Bronson was actually part of the platoon. He didn't save Big Ben, unfortunately.
No.
But they didn't know each other, weirdly enough.
Bronson saw him and let him die. He was like, "Fuck that."
Bronson, based on these flashback sequences, hadn't quite lost it entirely yet, but. I mean, some of it's a dream, some of it's probably what he actually did, but he's doing some fucked up shit, man.
At one point, he cuts some guy's leg off and turns his fucking femur bone into a knife.
I forgot about that. Yeah, never mind. I take that back. He already had lost it. You're right.
We
don't see him go through any spider holes, is what I mean.
He even insinuates like eating people at one point.
He's crazy.
Yeah,
he sure as fuck ain't John Rambo. That's for sure.
No. So we get a little bit more story here. Kevin is trying to get out of the situation that he's in and that his brother is in, where Freddy just doesn't give a shit. He's just getting drunk and trying to get by being a bum. Whereas Kevin goes to the garage and he's like helping this guy Mario work on this car, gives him $5. Wendy gives him a sandwich and all this shit. And then Kevin and Freddy have this conversation about their dad and how he came back from Nam and was like all fucked up and shell shocked and like Freddy couldn't watch Godzilla without him freaking out. And then they ran away from home. They're insinuating that they both ran away from home because, there was awful shit going on at home, like domestic abuse and shit like that.
Right, yeah.
And by the way, I'm just going to put it out here now because it's not a plot point of the movie. It was at one point, and then they cut it out.
Okay.
But Bronson is Freddy and Kevin's dad. And I always, after watching Meltdown Memoirs and like hearing that, I always watch it with that in mind, and it puts a totally different spin on the movie when you watch it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
There were scenes cut out where like Freddy has like a frog amulet or medallion on his neck, and Bronson has a frog tattoo on his arm.
That stops him from turning into Frogman, obviously, right?
Right, exactly.
Like Wolf.
Yeah, right.
But it's Frogman.
Or getting fucked by Frogman, one or the other.
He does fuck.
Yeah.
But that's kind of interesting. Yeah, I mean, it almost would explain more so, other than just they do have, like you said, the comment about their dad for going to Nam. Also,
yeah, there's about 30 minutes or 20 minutes cut out of this, something like that, of story plot points. One of them being like that, and then like some other like psychic bag lady. Which was a thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Which fed into that plot point.
Right. I was just going to say, when I mentioned that earlier about Freddy, for some reason, going off with the racist shit, it's like, okay, that kind of makes more sense. Where, like, I guess his dad was doing it, kind of just repeating what you hear.
And he's blaming them for what they did to him.
Yeah. Still shitty, but it's kind of an interesting plot point, actually.
But I think that's why. But I mean, that's where that comes from.
It makes it more interesting. Yeah, absolutely.
100%. And that's where his contempt for Wendy comes from, and why he doesn't want Kevin hanging out with her.
Yeah. Which I think is kind of like a friendly thing at first, but it eventually kind of becomes more intimate.
Well, sure does.
Well, I mean, absolutely. But then this is, I think, where we get this shopping scene.
Yeah,
with Bert.
They take Kevin's money. And they're like, let me take 3 of these scoops, and we're eating chicken tonight. So he goes to the fucking grocery store. One of the best sequences of the film.
With these poncho pants, or whatever you call these massive parachute pants. It's like, holy shit.
He fucking picks up a receipt off the ground.
He thinks that's going to get him out.
And puts it in his pocket and goes inside. And it's just funny as hell. It's got that goofy music playing.
Yeah,
it's like
you mentioned
he accidentally
earlier.
knocks shit over. And then he's just stuffing shit down his pants. Melons and Kool-Aid.
He doesn't
and
take the
chicken.
watermelon, but he takes the cantaloupe.
Yeah, the cantaloupes. Well, he picks up and goes, because it ain't going to fit.
Some old white lady, some old lady's like, oh my God, what the hell? You're stealing that chicken.
What are you staring at, bitch?
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
You're robbing the store, young man.
Dracula looks over. He's holding the little girl. He's like, I approve.
Yeah, he's holding Phoebe by the face.
Yeah, still.
And she ends up going to like tell a manager, and it's a black dude. And
How
there's this
poor
whole
can you be?
there's this whole exchange where like he's like, "You gonna take this fucking honky bitch's word over mine?" and all this stuff. It's just so fucking funny.
Well, he's leaning in, and he's like, "This is discriminatory.
This is discrimination."
Yeah, and they're both black.
Discrimination.
And the guy doesn't even know what to say because he doesn't want to like escalate the situation. Yeah. He's like, all right, well, if you come with me, we'll handle it. The chicken's literally dripping out of this guy's fucking pant
What are you doing with all that chicken in your pants?
Yeah, and then he acts like he's going to go with the manager, but he just beelines the other direction.
Well, he's like, we'll go straight in the cell. Let's talk to this must be. He's like, I'm going to report you to your superiors.
Right, yeah, and he marches off kind of just ranting to himself.
So good.
He's like, oh, wait till you see this shit. And puts a paper bag over his head.
Watch this now, and he puts a paper bag over his head.
And just walks through the fucking front glass.
The plate glass window.
Yeah.
And it just shatters.
Just kicks the glass off his leg as he exits.
That's fucking great, man. It's just a funny ass scene.
And then we just kind of zoom into the fucking the hovel that these guys all hang out in, where Kevin and Freddy live. And I kind of love this shot, just the light coming out of the inside of the cars.
Oh, I do love that, man. And they're all eating chicken.
The chicken, they hooked it up with the barbecue sauce.
And dude, he gets some Sneaky Pete in there too, man.
Oh, well, that juice that they made, the jungle juice or whatever the hell that is.
It was like whiskey that Bert like had, but like he's like, I've been aging this for 6 years or so, and it's like in a gasoline container from like a fucking motorcycle or like a weed whacker.
Freddie goes to take a sip. He's like, I gotta try this stuff, see how it tastes, how well it's fermented. Spits it out into his, oh my God, it's horrible. He's like, what, you piss in this? He's like, I had to even it out.
He's like, just a little, thin it out, to water it down.
Oh my God.
We do get a quick scene with Bill and the coroner.
Oh yeah,
And this is important.
Oh, this is a hilarious scene.
This is important because there's more storytelling about or exposition rather about Bronson and being a nom and like
lore drops.
It's all the lore drops from this other cop that he's like going to do this like hooker bust with, whatever they call it.
This younger cop. Yeah, I was like, who the fuck is this character?
Yeah, he's just one of the other cops in the precinct. But we get introduced to Roman, who's the coroner guy, and he's like eating sushi and shit. And he's like, "Look, guys, my masterpiece." And he like pulls up this thing, and like Sean said, it has like the Roy Frumkins melted guy like posing.
Oh. Yeah, right. Yeah, but he was like just red skeleton, like Mars Attacks.
If it had a smile, it'd be a Mona Lisa.
But I love this gag. It's a great sight gag where it's like you always see in movies, and it's such a trope now, but especially like in the 80s and 90s, where it's like the surgeon or the mortician eating lunch while they're working on the body.
The dude in Brain Dead, too.
Yeah, right.
Peter Jackson with the sandwich.
Yup. He's eating, first I think he's eating like crackers, then he's eating like chips, then he's eating the fucking salad, then he's pulling sushi. I was like, they ran with this joke.
Or like, what's his face in Arachnophobia?
Oh, God.
Herb or whatever the fuck
Still
his name
have
is.
avoided that one. We were supposed to do it with Tony, but he just did it with Tim from Tapes with the Crypt. I didn't get a goddamn text or a phone call.
That's all right. We can do it ourselves.
I'm kind of curious about that episode, but I'm going to skip it out of... it's a protest skip.
You know what else we're going to do? We're going to wear the awesome Tapes from the Crypt and Arachnophobia shirts that Tim had made, and you can get yours right now on Tapes from the Crypt with the promo code Dumpster15. You get 15% off. It's pretty sweet.
And speaking of Tim, he'll be joining us for that Uncle Buck episode, so it all kind of lines up. You see, I kind of made it kind of wrap around nicely.
Yeah. Happy Thanks Garbage.
There you go. With a little bow on your turkey, on your big pancake.
A giant pancake.
Yeah.
We get another scene with Bronson, and he's in the junkyard, and he's kind of like drunk as hell, like just recalling Nom.
Yeah.
And this scene's haunting too because like it's like panning around, and everybody's just like gross and drunk, and he's like, yeah, fucking, and I killed him, chow time, and blah blah blah, and it's like he's insinuating that he's like killing people and like eating them, and like he was a hitman for us and Nom,
like
and then like went
Beret
rogue or some shit.
Yeah, situation.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's going off about it, but yeah, that's a cool like 360 shot the way they did that. Just kind of get the whole like vibe of the area.
But then he has his flashback because he falls asleep, and like it's super atmospheric. I think they shot this on Long Island, and they had this beach shot, and again, for an independent film, this is pretty well done in terms. It looks fucking amazing. Like it looks like Nom. Well, maybe not exactly like Vietnam,
it's close
but like
enough.
it's pretty close.
They light it well.
There's explosions. There's all kinds of shit. And they have the Viet Cong like as vampires, which I thought was interesting.
I completely forgot about that detail.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh shit, vampires. Okay. Do they hop?
No, well, that's China.
Oh, okay.
I want to talk about that. There's a movie called The Jitters that I want to do.
I mean, that is a topic I've been itching to talk about. I mean, there's a few movies I could suggest, but okay, hold that
Five
thought.
Deadly Venoms, or what is it? No, Five Golden Vampires. Excuse me.
I mean, even the Spooky Con. What the fuck's that called?
Encounters of the Spooky Kind.
They have hopping vampires in that too. There's a whole sequence with that.
I would love to talk about it for another day.
Yes, but you're right. Sorry.
So he's having this flashback.
Yes, which also like is a nightmare / flashback. The way it's shot kind of reminds me of Razorback a little bit.
It kind of reminds me of Razorback, but it also reminds me of Sidekicks when Barry's going to save his Asian teacher, and it's kind of the same thing where like. I mean, it's not the same thing. I'm just making a joke.
Okay.
But like
MDU, right?
Right, yeah. But like it's like Chuck Norris shows up. No. But Bronson goes to like save Wendy because she's tied up, and then like lays her down and like
kills two guys by the way on the way.
Oh yeah, stabs and rips their fucking throat out, and then like is having sex with her while these explosions are going off and
just
stuff.
Like kissing his bare chest.
Yeah,
and then he wakes up screaming.
He wakes up screaming and like pulls out a fucking grenade and throws it and pulls the pin and fucking throws it, and like there's a big explosion.
He's got this thing resting like taped to his fucking throne just in case.
He scares the shit out of everybody because they're all sleeping. Yeah. And he's like, who the fuck was on watch? Who was on watch? And he's like freaking out.
His flashbacks.
And like Kevin wakes up. And that's a cool parallel too, because it's like, oh, if that's his dad,
if it is,
does he have like some kind of trauma like as a kid from that too?
Right, was Bronson at home with grenades? He had a supply thrown around the backyard.
Maybe not grenades, but screaming like a lunatic in his sleep. You know,
Kevin! Imagine he was Kevin's mother. Kevin wouldn't have lasted Home Alone too. He would have been fucking dead.
So this is where we get introduced to James Lorenz, and he is one of the funniest fucking guys, I think, ever, in my opinion. He's such a funny guy in general, and it's such a cool guy.
Who is this, by the way?
James Lorenz is the doorman in this.
Oh, the door. Oh, there's Italian restaurant.
Yeah, he's
Okay.
also the star of Frankenhooker.
Yes.
If everybody, I'm sure more people are familiar with him with that. But he's so good in this. He's opposite Tony Darrow in this, Mr. Durant, which we're gonna get to. But he's so fucking cool, man. And I got to meet him a couple times, and every time was just really awesome. It was just super genuine. Such an awesome guy to talk to. And the last time I met him, he saw my Street Trash stuff, or my Frankenhooker stuff. I can't remember which. I think it was my Street Trash stuff.
Well, you got a bowl sign at some point.
Yeah, at some point. But I was with my fiance at the time, now my wife, and we were just about to get married. And he, as like a engagement present or like a wedding present, he gifted us The Sweet Life.
Oh.
And it says, to Joe and Julie, happy life. He just gave us to this, and as a congratulations. He sold us on it because he said, yeah, this movie's terrible, but I have a simulated sex scene with Joan Jett in it. Now, this is written and produced by Roy Fromkes. And
Mini-sode in the future?
And also, there's other Street Trash actors in this, too.
Okay.
So it's something to come back to for sure. It's like a romantic comedy. So we'll stay tuned.
Yeah, that would be a mini-sode-ass thing, if anything.
So Freddy's there, and he sees this girl in the alleyway, like, throwing up. Turns out it's Mr. Durant's girlfriend. Now, Mr. Durant's like a mafia-type guy who owns this restaurant.
It's a mafia type. He is a mafia guy.
Well, sort of. Yeah, sort of. So Freddy's taking this drunk woman because she's like, oh, let's have sex. I want it all the way inside me. And he's like, okay, come on now.
Clearly so gone, so blackout
yeah.
drunk. She just assumes it's her boyfriend or someone she knows or something.
So Freddy takes...
Not a homeless man.
No, Freddy takes full advantage of her. And James Lawrence just kind of lets them walk away.
That's like a ha-ha, fuck you.
Yeah, well...
As you find out.
Freddy's like, oh, Nick told me to take care of her. I see ya. And he's like eating a banana or some shit or like a piece of chicken.
Then some like cook who could have totally spoken up sooner. He's like, gotta call Duran.
Yeah.
Added in VO and later in post. And then it cuts to like Duran like, what do you mean she was here with some other guy? She walked up.
He's like,
why didn't you say anything?
Tony Darrow is so fucking funny too. He's like, you see me coming here whatever a million fucking times.
How do you not recognize
He's like,
her?
what do you mean? He's like, oh, I didn't know, Mr. Duran. I'm sorry.
And when was this? A while ago.
Some stink bomb. I don't know. It took her, and he's like,
Oh, he's stuck. I don't want to deal with him. I don't want to get into it with him in case he got his stink on me.
he fucking fires him. He says, fucking take a walk. He's like, you fucked up. You fucked up big time. And the cook is like, you're a real fucking asshole. And then from there, we go back to the fucking junkyard, and Freddy like takes her back into the fucking tire hut and like fucks the shit out of her.
Yeah, they fall over the fucking cushion and everything.
The bed fell over.
And then,
More, please.
This has got to be the most deprived fucking part, without a doubt.
Well, now, see how it just switched? Because it was like, oh, this is kind of funny and also kind of gross. And then,
Yeah, I mean, it was still kind of funny, yeah.
Yeah. I want to add this caveat real quick.
Yeah.
The actress who plays this woman.
Oh, God, I read about this.
Said that in an interview, the first time she moved to when she moved to New York, she, instead of taking a cab like her friend suggested, now this is the 80s. Okay,
That was way worse back then.
was
As
way
far as
worse.
crime and
She
bad
took-
shit.
she took-
Maniac.
yeah, right. She took the subway and she got fucking like brutalized. She got her head fucking broken open, her
my
fucking
God.
eyes like with like swollen shut and all this shit. She had to like go back to Ohio and like recover for like 6 months. She was fucking lost the hearing in one ear and all this shit. Like really awful,
Oh, my
awful
God.
shit. So she's in New York again, gets this role, and when they're taking her off, she has like like because like these bums are watching them fuck and then like pull apart the thing and pull her through the tire.
It's haunting because they are kind of,
it's-
like I said, zombies or like creatures of the night kind of slinking behind them, following them.
And the way that it's lit, they're like sexual ghouls almost.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
weird.
yeah.
But they take her out, and it's pretty scary. They pull her out, and they go
through the fucking wall, basically.
through the wall of tires.
Yeah.
And
she's screaming, of course.
And she's screaming, and she's like, I didn't have to act because she was like immediately like transported back to that night, and she was just like, that's all like real screaming.
She had legit PTSD.
Yeah.
Right.
That's pretty creepy. It's a creepy thing.
They leave the rest to your interpretation. It's
Yeah.
pretty fucking obvious what's going to happen.
And then the way
Also, like, Freddy just doesn't even try to help her. He's just like...
He passes out.
out after he blows his load after fucking 6 pumps. And then he's like, well, I guess she just left. He doesn't think too deeply on that one.
We'll get back to her in a second, but Wizzy's walking down the street, and these punkers are fucking with him, and they're like dumping gas on him, and they're about to light him on fire.
Talk about dark. Go from one dark situation to the next. Like they were trying to cross all the fucking
You
things on the
spell
list.
scum, man. And he's like trying to light him on fire, and
The only thing missing is they didn't run over a kid's head with a convertible.
Bill like chases him off and like grabs him and throws him in the van with the rest of the hookers.
Oh, yeah,
And
the
it's
working
so
girls.
fucking funny because this one chick is like, "Get this smelly motherfucker from under my nose."
Yeah. Not only does he just smell from being a bum, but they also poured gasoline on him. He was really stink.
Oh, he's stinking it up. He ends up like pissing his pants and shit.
Yeah. Oh my God, Bill, there's like that grate in between
Bill-
so they could talk to the prisoners from the driver's seat.
He fucking punches it out and grabs Wizzy. He's like, "Tell me about your shithead fucking boss." It's like, "I don't know nothing about nothing."
Yeah. And you better not give me a shower. And like instantly puts like Streisand effect, puts
Yeah.
the idea in Bill's head. He's like, shower?
Give
You don't
him
want a
the sh-
shower?
Give him the shower.
I love the slam cut on that one. He's like in a like brand new blazer and shit. His hair's combed and he like
Not
looks
the
miserable.
shower.
He's like rolling in garbage trying to smell bad again. It's like, buddy, you're fucked. You're not getting any change on the corner this month.
So this is a fucked up scene too, because like R.L. Ryan's like over Wendy and he's like on this fucking roller couch and he's like, "Come on, give it up. Come on, I'll give you a fucking $5 raise."
Yeah, because earlier, like, there was, like, some kind of thing implied where it's like, oh, yeah, like, I'm not gonna fuck you. But he's like, yeah, but you want it. And
Yeah.
now he's, like, on top of her. And again, he's a very large man. He's pinning her to this fucking chair.
He is like
Trying to kiss her on the, like, on the shoulder and the neck.
he is like 7 of her.
Right,
in
well, yeah,
one.
she's
She's so
exactly. She's
tiny.
also very skinny on
Yeah.
top of that. Yeah, yeah.
He fakes like having a heart attack and like puts his whole weight on her. And she's like, "Mr. Schneiser,
I'm just gonna be stuck
she's
like
like,
this.
"I'm gonna die here
Yeah.
under your fat body."
And then she makes, like, a joke about, like, another sexual comment. And then he wakes up, like, all right. I was like, oh.
Yeah. Well, she says something like, "Come on." She says, "Come on," something, and he's like, "Oh, don't mind if I do," or whatever,
yeah.
some shit.
Then she's grabbing, like, loose license plates and just
Smacking
smacking
him in the
with
fucking
it.
head.
Yeah.
She's like, "Take a shower," and hits him again.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
take
leaves.
a shower. That's what I was saying earlier. Take a shower, walk your dog, get out, get some sunshine. Another slam. A lot of good jump cuts in this movie
Yeah.
to him then walking. He's got the hat on. Clearly showered, no longer covered in grease stains.
And he's fucking complaining. He's like, "This isn't a daycare center. It's a salvage yard. It's $1 million operation I'm running here."
Well, right, because of Kevin and Freddie and the rest.
Ugh, man, it's just so funny because the fucking dog runs up on him and starts licking his crotch.
Bites him on the dick.
And he's like, "Don't do that."
Yeah, he's like, again, more homophobic jokes. Okay, yeah.
Well, it's-
scum of the earth people. I get it.
Well, no, he's like, "My wife, my kids, the bums, my
yeah,
secretary. I don't need this. My homo dog."
Well, right, yeah. It is kind of fun.
It's pretty fucking fun.
Well,
Because it's not,
well, then I was going to say, here
it's-
comes the curly routine
Yeah,
as he
yeah.
approaches a dead body, the
Yeah.
woman that was clearly gang raped to death. And he's like, "Ooh, sweetly." He's like walking up. He's like, licking his lips. He's like,
and his fucking, her body is like laying on this sand.
straight debauchery. If you don't know, if you would have turned it off by now if this film was not for
Exactly.
you.
And this-
the
it's-
dumpster dwellers are there for the ride like we are.
It's
for
pitch.
sure.
It's pitch black comedy.
It is,
And,
it is.
and that's just what it is. And he's like smoking a cigarette, and he's like thinking about it. He's like,
Seriously though.
and he goes down and fucks this dead body that's on the ground.
Yeah, because later they cut back to when he's zipping up his pants. It's like, oh Christ. Well, at least they didn't show it. At least it wasn't like Katie Vick.
I love later where like Bill confronts him about it. He's like, "Yeah, they found 7 layers of semen inside it." And he's like, "Hey, do you think they can find out whose semen it is?" He's like, "Yeah, but that doesn't really matter. And by the way, the third to the last one had syphilis."
And he starts scratching
And he starts
his balls.
scratching his balls. He's like, "Oh, okay."
And he got secondhand syphilis by his necrophilic act. Ugh.
Was he that hard up for a fuck, dude?
He couldn't get Wendy. He had blue balls. He's like, drop next dead body. Next body I see. No, it doesn't have to be dead. Next body I see. Well, they're
If he's,
dead. Oh,
if
double
he's running
whammy.
$1 million operation, just go pay for it.
He's just full of shit. It was $1 million operation, my ass.
So Freddy, for whatever reason, is like walking around Bronson's neck of the woods, and Bronson catches his ass and he's like, "You motherfucker, you owe me money!"
Oh, yeah.
And right before he kills Freddy, he starts getting pissed on by Frank Farrell.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
And if you don't know who
yellow
Frank Farrell
showers.
is, Frank Farrell is the producer of Spookies, one of the producers of Spookies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's the guy who gets his fucking dick cut off.
Hey, they gave this guy a huge dick. They were trying to say something. This thing's a honker. They're throwing this thing around like a football.
It's like this long, soft.
Oh, this is classic because it's a big like parody of like sports montages, football montages.
They're throwing this. They're playing keep away with his dick. One guy kicks it at one point, as like makes a fucking field goal with it.
Yeah. And this guy's like, "Get it on some fucking ice!
Get it on some fucking ice!"
Yeah, he's screaming. And then finally he grabs it like midair. He dives for it like he's trying to get the game-winning touchdown. Lands in a fucking puddle and shit. It's like, how is his penis just not crumbled into just ground meat at this point?
He like grabs onto a bus, I guess, to hightail it to the hospital, get it sewn back on or something.
Winnie or Whitty or whatever her fucking name is at one point even grabs it. Bronson's girlfriend, she like hides it under her dress. Like, she's gonna use that later?
Yeah.
Once the rigor mortis sets in, that's a nice dildo, I guess.
It's definitely insinuated because Bronson's looking at her like, what the fuck? And she like throws it away.
Bronson won't fuck her. He wants to fuck Wendy.
This
Needs to get it where she can get it.
Yeah.
The spooky producer's cut off penis, rigor mortis style.
Beggars can't be choosers, Sean. Okay.
You think in a zombie apocalypse? Speaking of, you think that's like someone's fetish? You think this guy's really happy when the zombies rolled in? He's like, oh yeah, the rigor mortis vaginas, the rigor mortis penises. I can't wait.
Again, you need to watch Necromantic and Necromantic 2.
Wow, my dreams are just waiting to be found. Okay.
So we go back to the police station, and Bill is now there, and he finds out that the girl from last night that was found on the beach is none other than Nick Durant's girlfriend. And he's like, oh, fuck. And so the other cop's like, oh, he's in there. That was another part I liked, too, because he's like, whose girlfriend was it? And he's like, read the paperwork. And he's like, hey, I read like old people fuck.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah. But yeah, they're like in the like...
So it's James Lorenz and Durant and Nick Durant. Well, James, I keep saying James Lorenz because he's just credited as doorman.
Oh, well, right. Yeah, but they're in like the interrogation room.
Yeah.
And the doorman basically is spilling the beans. Like, he doesn't give a fuck. He's insulting like the mob boss to his face. Like, I just didn't know, and this is who it is.
Most of this is improv.
It's pretty good improv.
It's fucking great.
From everyone involved.
Yeah. I'm sorry. The stuff in front of the restaurant was mostly improv, and this is a little bit more scripted, but mostly improv.
You can't tell. It's well done, regardless. Pretty good. Every scene with these characters.
So fucking funny, man. They're the most memorable parts. Really, besides, like, in terms of like acting and the comedy portions.
Bill's a little weak, but I think he makes it up in other areas, like some of the fight scenes that are coming up. I think
he's great, just as like a heavy, like the hard boiled cop. He's great.
Sure.
But like James Lorenz and Tony Darrow are fucking hilarious opposite each other.
Barbs against each other. He's like, this guy doesn't have a fucking leg to stand on. Honestly, this doorman.
It's like he's going, the Don of douchebags. You know what they call you? Nick the Dick behind your back in your restaurant, your crummy restaurant. And he's like, kid. He's like, what are you trying to do?
He's like, I can't protect you once you leave. He's like, well, what are you talking about?
He's like, witness some kind of witness protection program? He's like, nah,
not for this.
Bill walks away and fucking Tony Darrow smacks James Lorenz right in the face. He's like, you're fucking dead.
You fucking rat. He keeps calling him a rat. You fucking rat.
Fucking rat bastard.
And he's like, okay, yeah.
James is like, my mother weeps because I work for you. She's like, I hope she has a black dress because she's gonna need it.
Yeah.
So Durant puts a hit out on Freddy, and there's this weird thing where like this hitman is able to track him down. And they go into this fucking bathroom to take a piss, and he's like,
the junkyard, yeah.
He's like, do you remember Mr. Durant and his girlfriend? Well, I got a little present for you.
Should have just shot him.
Well, he goes to shoot him, and he like zips his dick up in his fly.
Oh, gives him the old Ben Stiller.
Yeah, the Frank and Beans, dude.
Yeah, and he runs off, and then like Bill is also there randomly because it's part of his investigation.
Bill goes in, and he's like, somebody put Durant's got the hit out for his killer, and he's like, no shit, man. And the dude walks out with his gun. He's like, you got a permit for that?
Oh, right, for the girlfriend's killer, right?
And somehow he coerces him into fucking doing a throwing down fisticuffs with him. He's like, would you rather rot in jail or die in battle, hand-to-hand combat?
So this guy gets fucking pummeled. Like, at first he's kind of like beating Bill's ass, and then Bill, I guess, hulks up or something.
Dude, Bill is a big dude.
He just punches him in the face so many times. It's like a blade job like out of an old wrestling show. There's so much blood on this guy's face.
He drags him into the bathroom, dumps him in a fucking urinal, and then pukes on his fucking head.
And then, like, one of the bums, who is relevant later, comes out of, like, the bathroom stall after shitting and is just like, okay.
It is so good, and it's one of those things that you tell your friends about. Like when you watch this movie, like, this guy melts, and this guy gets his dick cut off, and then this guy beats the shit out of this guy and throws up on him.
And then he takes his Jeep and he drives off, and he sees this fucking limo, and he pulls up like you see cops all the time.
Yeah.
They roll the windows down, and it's the fucking mob guy.
The fuck do you want?
And he has the hitman's gun, his pistol, and he throws it in the window, and he's like, yeah. He's like, you've been a fucking pain. He's like, got blood all over his hand.
He's like, Durant says something like, he's like, you fucked up big time, pal. He's like, you know what, fuck this shit. He goes to like get out of the car to go beat his ass.
Yeah.
And he just drives away. But instead of, now, the detective before told Bill not to go after Bronson by himself.
Because he's nuts.
But
you never
now
know what's going to happen.
Now he's all fucking hyped up. He just beat the shit out of this guy. And now he's right across from the junkyard. So he goes to fight Bronson.
He comes back. Yeah. He should have, like, sat down, had a health potion, bandaged his wounds, came back to fight another day. But no, like you said, he's hot and bothered, and he marches over there like he's fucking Solid Snake, but he's not even really trying that hard to hide himself.
Well, right out of the gate, Bronson comes up behind him and stabs him in the back with the fucking femur knife.
Well, he thinks he's on the chair behind the sheet.
Yeah.
And it's a fake out. It's the girlfriend.
Yeah.
And yeah, right, he gets stabbed by the femur bone, and that's... He doesn't have much of a chance after that.
But it's still a knockdown drag out because he puts up a hell of a fight. He fucking body slams the Wynette. I think that's her name.
Yeah, Wynette or Whiny or I don't know what the fuck I wrote down.
He body slams her against a fucking fence, and then he's fighting Bronson, and he gets in a couple good shots, kicks him in the dick, punches him up a little bit. Bronson ends up just choking him to death,
strangles him,
and it's a pretty fucking dark scene, man.
It is, and it's also a pretty good twist. You're not expecting the cop.
No, and you're like, oh fuck, and then Bronson pisses on him while whistling taps.
Yeah, whistling taps. Oh my god.
So juxtaposed to that's the whole thing. It's like these dark scenes, and then juxtaposed to that is like Freddy walking into the liquor store.
Right
and he's
after
like,
that.
Here's my fucking $1, give me my fucking booze, and suck my dick.
Oh, and they get about 50 fucks in this one scene. I read this movie, I think it's 178 fucks or something.
Here's your booze, suck your own dick.
Yeah, go fuck your own dog and all
Yeah,
that.
fuck your dog, Ed.
Oh, yeah, you fuck your dog.
Go fuck your dog, Ed.
Yeah. And it's also like, he keeps saying, yeah, I'm going to get some more of this Viper. He goes another time earlier, and it's closed, and he's like, shit.
Freddy's having a hard day. He hasn't had any booze. He drank that Sneaky Pete. He hasn't had any Viper yet.
No. So then, he walks off, and it's a time change or something. They just got to the next part where he's now about to drink this hooch. Mm-hmm. He's sitting on this motorcycle, and we get this kind of split shot of the fat man walking in, the fat hobo, who's also acquired some Viper himself.
Yeah.
He's a little faster drinker, thank God for Freddy's sake, though, because he starts guzzling this shit, and it sounds like a volcano erupting.
Oh, dude, this guy's ballooning into a giant fucking gut-filled, shit-filled bubble.
It's like Wayne Knight in fucking Space Jam, except this time there's no coming back from it. It's not gas, let's put it that way. Because Freddy, he walks over, he kind of screws the tap back on the top of the bottle.
Because there's a huge fart that goes his way.
Oh, yeah.
He's always getting farts in his face in this movie.
Maybe he's nose blind. Maybe it doesn't bother him. But he watches as this, again, fat man just keeps expanding like Violet from Willy Wonka.
Oh, he's turning Violet.
But he explodes in this massive gore fest, which is body parts raining from the sky.
He explodes like a fucking graboid.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And Mike Lackey jumps on the side of a car and rolls under it, and this shit falls all over the ground. But he gets some on him, and it's burning him.
Yeah. So then he runs back to the liquor store to be like, oh shit, this is bad news.
I gotta tell Ed.
And Ed now, he's been curious because this shit's been selling like nobody's business, not realizing all the people are dying.
Well, before we get there, he passes Wizzy on the way there.
Oh, he does, you're right.
And he sees Wizzy, and he starts taunting Wizzy. He's like, Wizzy's an asshole, blah, blah, blah. And he's pretending to drink the Viper.
Oh, yeah.
And then Wizzy goes to kick his ass. And he takes the Viper, and he's like, no, man, don't drink my Viper. Bert comes up and helps him.
Tries to help him. With his gas mask on.
He's like, Bert, give him the booze. And he's like, what? I thought, when I first saw this, I was like, oh shit, Bert's dead.
Oh, because Wizzy grabs his massive metal pipe.
And fucking cracks him over the head with a metal pipe. And, basically Freddy coerces Wizzy to drink it. He's like, you don't fuck with the Wiz.
Well, it's like a rabbit season, duck season.
Shit. Yeah.
And, he drinks it and just instantly regrets it. Freddy literally points at him and laughs. Does a Nelson. As this guy starts, he gets up. This is the purple melting against the wall. And it's literal. I always joke about grease stains. Yeah. But talk about a grease stain on this wall after he's done melting, as this purple shit is falling to the ground.
You gotta respect the Wiz, man.
Yeah. Not anymore. But this is probably my favorite, I guess, death, kill, whatever you want to call it.
It is so good because he starts melting.
Melting sequence?
And I love how, again, the way that it's shot is just so good with the Steadicam like coming up to him.
Oh, and it's like shooting out of his
he's
neck
like all
at first.
fucked up, and then like he slams against the wall, and there's like a big spray, and then he fucking like melts into it.
He rips part of his chest off and just like throws it at Freddy as like a fuck you trying to hit him. Freddy's like, whoa.
His fucking head is like still like moaning as it like melts and falls down. It's great. Turns out Bert isn't dead. He's just fucked up.
Right, okay.
And then now Freddy goes to tell Ed.
To tell Ed, who is, again, like I said, curious. So he takes a swig, and he's the guy that turns into orange soda.
Oh, yeah, he does.
And starts melting on the side of the street. And Fred's like, oh, get the fuck away from me, as like the acid's getting on his pant leg. And he backs up onto like a fucking truck, and this truck like peels off. It's kind of just a funny aside where then Freddy like rolls off the back of the car, and the guy's like, what the fuck? What are you doing? Get out my car. And he's like, see ya, and runs away. While this fucking liquor store owner just melts on the sidewalk in the orange creamsicle ice cream.
Ill. Meanwhile, Bronson's like making a brand new femur bone out of Bill's femur.
Yeah, they don't ever say it, but what else is he using?
But it's like it's so creepy, and he's getting fucking drunk. And one of the other bums like gives him the Viper.
Oh, it's like a tribute or some shit.
And he almost drinks it. Except the chick like grabs it from him and she's like, you fucking bastard, you never share any of the goods. And she's like, fuck you. And she drinks it. And she melts into a pile of shit. Her
tits melt.
Her fucking tits melt. She's like fingering them like Linnea Quigley. And like, they're all blue and yellow and shit. And then she ends up like exploding in half. And you just see like the half of her torso just like melting on top of a fucking dumpster.
And Bronson's already insane. If this is just driving him crazy,
he's like, what's happening to you?
Yeah,
he thinks he's got like the fucking DTs or hallucinating or something. I mean, yeah, but
imagine you're already that far gone and you see that shit. Like you're like, all right, yeah, that lines up.
Well, he totally fucking snaps here because Kevin puts the moves on Wendy, and they go back to the office.
Oh, because you said his obsession with wanting her.
Yeah, and she's about to blow this kid.
She takes her shirt off.
She's like, I got an hour or whatever.
Shows her titties. Then he takes his shirt off, shows her his titties.
Yeah. She starts going down on him. And Bronson kicks the fucking door open, scares the shit out of it, and starts running after Kevin.
It's like fucking Nemesis and Resident Evil. Silent Hill 2 remake just came out. Pyramid Head.
Yeah.
Coming after you. And this is like a chase scene throughout this warehouse. It's really intense.
It's so good.
Lit really well where there's just light where...
it's creepy.
It's lit perfectly. I don't know. It's hard to explain.
It's got a lot of ambience and depth and
shadows.
The mood and the tone.
You never know if Kevin's ever quite safe, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
You don't.
In fact, Bronson grabs at him like through like a shelf trying to get him.
But he's like up on a second story, so he like jumps up onto this fucking thing to try to grab him.
He leaps like Spider-Man or some shit.
Yeah, he thinks he's in the fucking jungle or something.
He does.
Yeah. He's like, come here, you little fucking street trash, DM!
Yeah, and then Kevin's booking it. He runs for his fucking life because he actually sees that one bum that was on the shitter earlier.
Oh yeah. And he gets a fucking femur knife through the neck.
Well, because again, Bronson at this point is just fully thinks he's back in Vietnam
he's
and the
completely
war.
Lost it. Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, you fucking slug!" And this guy's like, "Huh?"
So Kevin ends up making it down these stairs, and Freddy kind of shows up to help his brother and has another bottle of Viper, and he fucking wings it at Bronson, and it crashes on his face, and he starts burning his face, and he's like, what the fuck did you throw at me? My fucking face!
He's like, dead maggot shit!
Oh man, he goes fucking
running.
nuts, and he runs down at Freddy. And he grabs Freddy, and this is where you were supposed to like make the connection, where like at the last moments of Bronson's
familial connection.
Life, he makes the familial connection with the frog tattoo and the frog medallion. But again, every time I watch this, I just kind of watch it as that he's their dad. It gives it so much more emotional weight to it, I think.
Well, sure.
Yeah. Kevin gives him the fucking Freddy Krueger special, or the Jason Voorhees special, and like puts one of these fucking air tanks aiming at Bronson, and he whacks the back of it off. This thing goes rocketing out at Bronson, and Bronson's holding up Freddy. And this
about
thing,
to give him the Pumpkinhead treatment.
Yeah, get the backbreaker. Yeah. And this air tank hits him in the face and totally like decapitates him. He looks like fucking what's his face from Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice.
Yes, he looks like Jeffrey fucking
He
Jones.
got Jeffrey
I was gonna
Jones.
say, you think they hang out like with their torsos removed
in the afterlife.
They're in the afterlife. Like, imagine those conversations. Good lord.
Well, the thing is, Bronson's head is still intact because you see it fall out of the sky from behind him.
Oh, and I kind of love that. They don't even have to say that. It's like that shit where it's like what your brain can like survive for 12 or 30 seconds or whatever it is.
6 to 12 minutes.
Oh, okay. All right, so I wonder if for 6 to 12 minutes, his head was just looking around like, what the fuck? There's my bot. What, is that Jeffrey Jones over there? He's shark ate him? Oh, okay. Anyway, that's a funny thought.
Herbert West is about to pick that fucking head up, yeah.
Realistically, yeah, especially in the movie Dumpster Universe.
Yeah.
Because it does just kind of wrap the fuck up. Like Wendy runs over to Kevin.
The head is still alive and it's like looking around. It's like
That's
an
what I mean,
Yeah, it's like
yeah.
an animatronic and it's like and fucking Wendy like jumps over it and he gets one shot like up her skirt and he like smiles right before he dies.
His final moment.
Right before his head died.
Right, his final moment of bliss. Exactly.
Death is but a door, time is but a window.
Bronson is the key master.
Bronson will be back.
He's probably one of Zool's warriors, realistically, with that femur fucking knife.
Cue the fucking Re-Animator theme, dude.
We could insert it here, honestly, because again, what did I just say? It just kind of ends. Wendy checks on Kevin. We didn't really find out what happens to Freddy. I guess he's alive.
No, they're both there, and it just kind of. It's one of those hard cuts to black, which I really like, and then it's just street trash.
Oh, but we get one of the all-time end credit sequences.
Okay, so this is an end credit sequence, but right before I want to talk about that, they actually shot an alternate ending, which ended like the short film, where where Bert goes back to the liquor store and takes the whole crate of Viper with like 5 other dudes, and then they all drink it in the street.
Oh man,
yeah,
that would have been too expensive.
So that was like the alternate ending part.
Wait, they shot that?
They shot that part.
Oh, I need to see that.
Yeah. Well, I don't think the melty part, but they shot them drinking.
I still want to see that at least. Hey, you cut the black from there. I'd take it.
Yeah, there was also, just before we get to the end, there was also some weird dance scene that was excised from the film.
Speaking of Ghostbusters 2016.
Which was, but I think I'm glad they cut it, but it would have been this weird glimmer of hope where these people are like happy for like this small second where they're hearing a song that they like and they're like dancing.
Like a Monty Python situation?
No. Like a moment of
not that kind of style of comedy.
Tuning out the reality of the situation.
Oh, okay, got you. Less of a silly spin.
Being happy.
Yeah,
whatever that means.
More like what was that movie with Marlon Wayans and everything ends horribly? Requiem for a Dream, almost like that.
God.
The mom, especially.
Yeah,
she's like really droned out.
Sarah Goldfarb.
Yeah.
You got the television.
Talk about a fucking depressing film. Yeah. Anyway,
holy shit.
Let's talk.
You're
making
me depressed thinking about it.
Yeah. Watch that in a film class of all things.
So post-credit sequence is fucking great, dude.
Yeah.
Because it's like a credit sequence. Not post. But Nick Durant has gotten a hold of James Lorenz and has him tied up.
Still wearing the doorman outfit. Never changed out of it.
And they're gonna fucking kill him.
Yeah, because he's a fucking rat. He's a stool pigeon, Joe. Why not?
He's like,
I don't know why him just not. I guess you'd kill him regardless for what he did, but I don't know how that makes him a rat or a stool pigeon. I guess because of all that shit he said at the precinct, right?
James Lorenz is like, he's like, I didn't mean all those things they said about the duck with the wax on the duck. I love the duck. I thought it was delicious. In fact, the night that your girlfriend got raped and murdered, I had a piece at the restaurant. It's just like funny jokes like that.
Yeah, he's getting them in there still. Like he's still fucking poking the bear when he's about to get shot in the face.
And he's like, you said she fucking stinks, and she's like, what I meant was she stinks of beauty. Like, it's just good shit, man.
And then he's like, I don't know where he gets this from, but it's a funny visual. He just pulls out the Tenafly Viper.
Well, he's like, drinking on the fucking job, eating my fucking chicken.
Oh, so
you ain't gonna stop until you and me and I'm you. Is that it, kid?
Yeah.
So he opens the Viper and he's like, we got him, Vinny, Paulie, we got him. Salute. Then he drinks the fucking Viper.
Here's one to you, Red. Salute. And then he drinks it and he goes, oh, Jesus, you, fuck you. And then it's like this
you, fuck you.
This is, again, a case where, like I said, that alternate ending you just said, where I don't even mind not seeing the meltdown. You just get it from their POV.
Well, they actually shot the Nick Durant melting sequence, but like it's
don't need it.
It's funnier because he's like, oh, let me kiss your ring. He's like, you're gonna kiss my fucking prick. And after he gets melted, he's like, kiss your prick. It's running down the fucking stairs.
And then he's telling the two mobsters, he's like, yeah, I'm basically in charge now for whatever reason. He's like, yeah, get that ring before it melts.
I'm the new Don.
And they're just kind of going with it like, all right.
Durant is like screaming, and the last thing I think he says is like, oh, come here, you fuck you, I'll bite your heart. Or some shit.
Well, actually, no. Apparently, he's just sitting there melting melting for a very long time because he had time to then go into the recording studio and then sing a song about his demise.
So Tony Darrow was actually a singer.
I did see that.
And the funny part about that is he would heckle the audience when he sang. So he would say funny shit.
Okay.
He would say funny shit like, "Hey, am I fucking boring you?" Or like, "What, are you falling asleep there?" Or like shit like that.
Classic Italian host kind of comedy.
So it was funny that it translated really well to this, and it just fit really well. And this fucking song, I think it's called "My Way."
The credits song.
It's so fucking funny.
Okay, so it's like a parody of My Way.
Well, yeah, because when he's singing it, he's actually singing, and then he's like, "Shut your mouth, you little scumbag." He's like, "I'll eat your fucking eyes like grapes," and all this shit. It's really funny.
And it concludes basically much like the end of the credit sequence where he starts melting and he's screaming about it, all Moreau and all this shit.
It's great.
It's funny.
What did you give me to drink, you little fuck? You scumbag.
Again, how many times can I say it's satire? It's like they're leaning into all these tropes of the time. I love it.
It's just, I think this is just straight up comedy. Like,
yeah.
So yeah, man. Where are we putting Street Trash?
Man, this is definitely on the shelf. It probably lives in the dumpster and it fucking crawls out every once in a while and places itself on the shelf.
Sure.
Because it definitely is one of those dumpster movies from like an aesthetic standpoint.
It's exactly the definition of the show.
It literally is, but it's on the shelf in the sense of like I just love this movie, even though I don't think it's like a 5 out of 5 all-timers. It's not Godfather. That's not what we're ever really doing on this show anyway. That's not my point. My point is, even though this movie has problems and there's things about it that I don't think hold up, like Sean in 2006 when he first saw this, some of the things didn't bother him as much. Now, after seeing way more movies and doing the show for 7 years now, it's like, all right, some of that shit bothers me a little more. But, like, I still love this movie, and it's just, like, nitpicky shit, and it's, like, stuff that's, like, leaning into the dark comedy, so should I really even get upset? Like what we've been talking about.
It's also a product of its time, again. Like,
100%. You
can't, I'm not on the team of, like, you can't go back to something and be like, this is problematic because X, Y, Z, and it's like, well, that's just what it is for when it was made. If you made it now, I'd be like, that's a little,
yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with mentioning that I think it's a problem, but I see your point. But I guess my larger thing is just I think the gore's fucking incredible. It holds up. It's shot really well. There's a lot of unique stuff they do with that Steadicam, and I didn't even know that was like one of the first movies to really.
Not one of the first movies to implement it, but it was brand new at the time.
Okay.
And for them to have access to it was.
But it was impressive.
Incredible.
It was very impressive. And there's a lot of shots we didn't really talk about, but there's stuff where, like, they're flipping the camera upside down.
Yeah.
They're doing a lot of those crazy, like, we talked about Evil Dead kind of style shots and just weird stuff with, like, apparently a golf car. And any way you could get a POV steady shot, they found ways to do it and make it unique. And I love that kind of stuff, too. Kind of reminds me of Crank a little bit. Obviously came way later, but whenever the guy was a cinematographer, too, so maybe that's why a lot of that stuff is in here. He's thinking more about that stuff.
Well, they even say, like, the guy who did the director of Combat Shock, I forget his name, but he had done that, I believe, for Trauma or sold it to Trauma. But, like, he's like, I don't know how the fuck they did what they did for the money that they had. And he's like, it looks way better than my movie that I just made.
It's impressive. It's very impressive.
It's a very impressive independent film.
Oh, yeah. And like all the characters are funny as hell, like especially the bums. Like Black Suit is one of my favorites, and Bert. Just that whole like shopping spree scene is so funny, and the little like quirky facial animations he's making and the one-liners. It's just very, very memorable. I love the return to this movie, and I have those memories with Joe that we talked about earlier, so that kind of adds to it for myself. But this is one I would always kind of recommend if you want to get into splatter movies. I'm sure there's like many others you could probably say, like Necronomicon, which I'm now going to watch, or
Necromantic.
Necromantic.
Necromantic is more not necessarily a splatter film. It's more like an extreme.
Okay, so maybe
movie?
Not quite.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm trying to say is like the Evil Deads of the world.
Yeah, Evil Dead is
like you said
splatter.
earlier, Brain Dead, shit like that.
Yeah.
This is I don't know if I would say it was a gateway splatter film, but if you're getting into that shit or you haven't caught this one, I highly recommend it. You're gonna have a good fucking time if you like these kind of films. There's just not much more I could say. Like, they're nitpicks. They're fucking nitpicks in the scheme of things. Easily gonna pull this one out of the dumpster, slap it on the shelf. It's covered in fucking ooze, and it's gonna stay there lovingly. And I don't know. I don't want to repeat myself, but it's a one of a kind. Also, I feel like you don't really see. I mentioned Terrifier recently, and I'm sure again. Not to be a broken record, but I'm sure there's other examples, but that's one that kind of comes to mind that's big now. So it's kind of cool to revisit street trash on a personal level for Movie Dumpster. And now I'm starting to repeat myself a little. Take it away, Joe. Take it away, Joe. I'm gushing.
It's on the shelf. Absolutely,
Yeah.
100%. It's a small triumph, is what it is. I mean, this movie is just fucking everything that you could want in an independent film, especially for the filmmakers themselves and how they were able to get funding for it, the prep time that they had to work on this, and then ultimately the end result, which was a way above average independent horror movie, let alone a fucking movie about bums turning into fucking goo.
Right,
you know
from
what
liquor,
I mean?
yeah.
Yeah, but that's the other thing. It's like wholly original too. Like you said, like it completely does its own thing. You hadn't really seen anything like this before. And it was wholly original in what it was doing, which was pretty incredible.
Very few movies I can even think of since it came out that kind of even tackled a similar subject.
And it did fucking amazing in the theater. The problems therein were like the distribution. It did go to Lightning Video, but Lightning Video shortly went out of business because Vestron pulled the fucking plug on it. The guy who acquisitioned this film, I can't remember his name, but he got Street Trash and put a whole marketing campaign together for it. It ended up being released on Lightning, but they didn't do any of the marketing for it. So it kind of fell into obscurity for years. And then had a resurgence. It became a cult classic, but then it had a resurgence in the early 2000s, and then that's how more people got to see it. Not only people with the it was on the list of those movies that you wanted to go find, and who had it, and I need to see this kind of thing, and where's it circulating? Can I get a bootleg copy of it at Chiller or something?
Yeah.
It's fucking great. And echoing things that you've already said, like it's shot absolutely beautiful. I love the fucking cinematography in this movie. I would strive as a cinematographer myself to kind of utilize ideas that this puts forth and kind of the way that it's visually telling the story. I like the way that it feels. It almost has this sort of kinetic comic booky vibe to it. That I really like, and like going from panel to panel almost with the Steadicam. It kind of has that feeling. I absolutely love the special effects and the bright colors. It's just oversaturated blues and pinks and greens and yellows, and it just adds this whole like punk rock neon splatter fest that's going on here.
It's almost a little, not a one-to-one, but reminiscent of Technicolor. It's not quite Technicolor, but it makes you think about it a little, right?
Yeah, well, they did use like polarizers and stuff to make the colors pop more, like filters. But just as a whole, though, I think it's more than just a movie about bums melting after drinking like there's some fucked up liquor. Like there is a good plot there. There's a great thread. There's good character arcs and stories.
Social commentary.
There's a lot more to it, and I think that's why it's also held up, because like when the I don't think it'll ever wear off, but when the effects and the melting and that wears off, or like you take that out of the equation, like what do you have left? Is there can it stand on any legs? And it certainly does.
Yeah, oh yeah.
In my opinion. It's a feast for the eyes, and it's got a decent story on the back end, and the rewatchability is fucking great. And, people might not agree that it holds up in today's climate or whatever that's supposed to mean, but like, it doesn't take itself too seriously, and you shouldn't take it too seriously.
No.
And especially for where it is and what it's talking about for the time that it was made. It might not be wholly appropriate, but you gotta let that dark humor in. If you're if you're into that shit, it nails it on the head, and the satirical standpoint that it takes while also delivering its more serious themes, it works really well. It's a good cocktail of all that stuff. So I think it's an important film, and it's a great film, I think, for independent filmmakers to watch. And I'm really glad that there's a remake coming out, because hopefully, we talked briefly about people not going back to the original when the remake comes out, or maybe not have seeing it.
Yeah.
I really hope people go back and watch the original Street Trash when the new one comes out, because it's a totally different movie. I don't know if they're going to get it or understand it, but hopefully they do.
Well, I mean, even with all that said, like, I think a lot of those things that are portrayed in this movie, the social commentary especially, is still relevant.
Yeah.
homeless people are still treated like shit, unfortunately, in this country and around the world. So it's not like that has really changed much. So it's got something to say still in 2024 and going forward. So it's kind of evergreen for that.
I highly recommend it if you haven't seen it, and just take it for what it is, I guess, is I think the best thing I could say. If you're into splatter shit, if you're in for wacky satirical shit, I mean, it's a more sophisticated film than maybe say a trauma film, depending on what you're looking for. But yeah, I fucking love it. I think it's great. It's one of my all-time favorites, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that remake stacks up.
Same.
But yeah, if you want some more Movie Dumpster content, you can head over to patreon.com/Movie Dumpster. You can get an ad-free audio version of the show for only $2 a month, and you can get some other great stuff at the $5 and $10 tiers, like watch-alongs, commentary tracks, mini-sodes, t-shirts, sticker packs, and even you can get some glow-in-the-dark pins, too. So if that's something you want to do, help support your favorite show.
And if you're watching here on YouTube, please like the video and share it with your friends, and subscribe if you're not already. And if you're listening on your favorite podcast app, please leave us a review if you got the time, and leave us that 5 stars. It really does help get the show into more people's ears, eye drops, and everything in between. We're always talking about we want to grow this dumpster community, so please share it and get more people in here listening and watching.
Yeah, those reviews mean more than anything to us. It really helps the show the most. Whether it's better than you buying anything or anything of the sort like that, leave the 5-star reviews, leave the comments, share the videos, share the podcasts. It's really helpful. But you can also follow us at Movie Dumpster on your favorite social media platforms. We're on Blue Sky now if you want to jump over there and do that. And you can also go to moviedumpsterpodcast.com. We have a store there if you want to buy something. We got those wonderful knit caps back up in the store for the freezing season, so maybe you want to grab one of those. We don't have any sweatshirts yet. We need to remedy that.
Yeah.
But if you want to find out where the Dumpster Boys are going to be, if you want to come see us and hang out at any live shows or events we got coming up, there's a calendar that you can check out. And we hope to see you there.
Out in the dumpster with the trash, the tapes, and the Tenafly.
So that's it. That's Street Trash from 1987, directed by Jimmy Moreau. I'm Joe Lascola.
And I'm Sean O'Rourke.
Thanks for visiting the dumpster. And don't forget, you gotta respect the whiz, you piece of shit.